What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog, coming out of you, coming out of YouTube, out of Austin, Texas. Pause. And then I've got Jimmy and Corey here from By the Hood. You hear so much good stuff from about them from Diamond Dave and other people in the space that I wanted to bring out some male, married, masculine energy, curls wave energy to this conversation. And so, if you guys could drop your city and state in the chat. And before we kick it off, Jimmy and Corey, please introduce yourselves.
Good, brother.
All right. So my name is Corey. I am a old man, but I'm old as my beard as my beard would say. I am a former teacher in Philadelphia public schools because I just retired like last month.
Wow, man, congrats.
By the way, this is like his fourth.
This is my seventh retirement.
Every time
they burn me out, and then I come back.
Yeah, every time they call him and say we need black male teachers, he always falls for it and goes back.
Yeah, they get me every time with the no black male teachers thing. But anyway, that's something we'll talk about later. I own real estate in Houston and in Philadelphia and the surrounding areas. I have a stock portfolio. I trade. I have a crypto portfolio. So I try to teach the youth how to do those things so that they can build assets. I'm also I'm 100% keep it blickety blick blackety. So I don't know how y'all do, but everything I do is for black people. So just to let y'all know.
Now wait, now y'all know I told y'all I'm only black on Tuesday. The rest of the week I'm Native American, but I'll take it back today. I'll be black today.
Black, so Tuesday, me and you bang on Tuesdays.
All right. So I'm the other half of By the Hood. My name is Jimmy. Professionally, I'm in the real estate space. So I've been investing in real estate for over 20 years. I'm licensed as an agent. I'm licensed in valuation. My specialty is real estate analytics. So I create real estate models, and I'm a nerd. So I play in that space. But professionally, everything is real estate. But also have a background in I had a securities license, life insurance license. So I pretty much done everything in finance. And started By the Hood with the idea of helping the community. And got to give Corey credit for this. Our work with the youth was actually Corey's idea, because I was telling him how frustrated I was working with adults, because sometimes it can be frustrating. And he said, "Well, listen, let's partner together and let's go create something for the youth. And this coming up will be our 9th camp that we've done. So, partnership is everything. And so that's a little bit about my background. I love reading books and I love watching ratchet memes on internet. So that's pretty much it.
Not the ratchet memes.
Gotta be ratchet.
You guys, so you guys, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. Y'all know what time it is. Listen, we can't talk about mentoring. We got 2 elephants in the room. Y'all cousin Dr. Umar. And then we got, talk about the children, right? But then we got a child just had to defend his mama in Chicago. So we're going to hit that elephant first, and I'm going to show some video. We know mostly what went on. And so prepare yourselves. Thank you, Ray Gun 34 for donating. Ray Gun donates his time and his money to the children's in Georgia. So,
shout to Ray Gun.
Shout out. Okay, let's disclaimer, you're gonna see a violent video. Disclaimer, I don't know how much of a disclaimer I can give y'all probably have been inundated by this stuff on the internet lately, so I apologize. Okay, let's do it.
I might be the only person who's never seen this.
Oh, you have? Oh, wow.
I've seen it 11 times,
man. Okay, so oops, let me go back. I'm gonna make it big so you can see Corey. Whoops, I hope I can do it right. Okay. Let me know if you can't see it, Corey. If I need to make it a big screen, I can.
I can see it. You don't have to do anything to it.
Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Get your food. Who? Get the cop? Who? Hey. Get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Just in case you ain't seen, let me say it one more
Get
time.
your food. Who? Give me up. Who? Hey, get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my God, I'll say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Okay. Um, there's some more where they kind of run out the door. I don't know if you've seen this part. And this is
Dial
where
pads
people
where
hold on a
work
second.
comes
Oops,
together.
got the
It gives
ad
our team.
playing. Where people are like, well, the mom shouldn't have done this and she was out of control. And this is the other part of the clip from the parking lot where I don't know if it'll show it. Let me get here. Okay, that's the son, the honor student who's 14. If y'all can understand, his mother is saying, get to the car. She's talking to her son, like, go to the car, get out of here, right? Before that even happens. And that man thought, he was talking to her, right? That she was talking to him, per se. What you don't see, unfortunately, and what you don't see in the camera view is the girlfriend who is egging him on. And if you hear the audio, the girlfriend's and I guess her friend or whatever says, that's what you get. That's what you get. And in my head, I'm like, I could never imagine the quality of a woman who is egging on a 32-year-old man to hit a woman with her hands are crossed. Like, it's not like this woman's putting her hands on him, done stuck her hand in his face, her hands are crossed, which is already dangerous. Um, I've took lots of self-defense classes. I take a lot of gun training all the time because it's not it's not the her being out at 11 o'clock. It's not that her son got her firearm from the car or anything like that. It's this mindset that was okay. Well, they're both at fault. He told her to be quiet. And I go, if y'all think because you're a man and you tell a random woman or man to be quiet, they should. Ooh, I'm I'm worried about what we got out here.
Yes.
And again, he's a father of twin girls with multiple assaults on his record. This is not a 22-year-old man. This is a 32-year-old man hitting a 35-year-old woman who's getting a Polish hot dog or whatever this place is. Everybody says Maxwell Express at 11 o'clock at night. And I don't care if it was 2 o'clock in the morning because Cal Rittenhouse was out at 2 o'clock in the morning with the long rifle.
Yeah.
And we never gave as much pushback as we give in our community about this black woman, telling her she should act ladylike. She should shut up. She should go to the car, run away.
And so there's so many things wrong in this entire situation. Yeah, it's layered. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be putting your hands on folks. I mean, and that's just to start the conversation.
Number uno.
Because the first thing that bothered me when I first saw the video, before I even knew the whole story, was there was no one trying to de-escalate the situation. They're clearly yelling at each other, and there were other men that I saw in the video who were there who ran out, when the young boy came in. But I'm like, no one's trying to de-escalate this situation. And
I'm gonna keep it a sidewalk in 2023.
And I was getting ready to say that. I was getting ready to say that. So sometimes
dangerous business in 2023.
Yeah, I get that. But I think that's part of the problem, though. That is part of the problem.
Listen, I'm not gonna disagree with you.
Yeah.
But this ain't 1994. This ain't 1984. This ain't 2004. You put your body work and your hands in the wrong place. That them bullets could have came for them.
No, that's true. But here's the other thing, Corey. I've been in situations where I see young boys and I de-escalate it, and then and then what happens is after it's over, my wife looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" But the thing is, it's a natural reaction to try to de-escalate situations, and I just didn't see that, right? So not that I'm a superhero, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that's my natural inclination when I see our folks is to try to just de-escalate the situation, just go that way, because what happens is, like, you see situations like this, and this just happened to end this way, but life is so much bigger than this. The day after, if someone de-escalates it, y'all won't even be thinking about each other no more. Like, y'all may never come across
a story you get to tell.
Yeah, like, it's not even that deep. But the thing is, this escalated to the point where now we're talking about the loss of life. Even though the charges were dropped on the mother and child, the child has to live with that. That's traumatic, right? So, I mean, it's everybody's it's more than one victim. It's a lot of victims.
The girlfriend lost her boyfriend. The children lost their dad.
Yep.
Because they dead. My thing is this. So what I saw is two things.
Mm-hmm.
Two people who couldn't control their emotions, right? Because they was arguing. First of all, I'm not arguing with nobody. So I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying both of them had a lack of control of their emotions. Because I'm not arguing with no, especially in no store. You know what, you right, whatever you said. You know what I mean? Like
Like,
I'm not,
okay, bye.
yeah, whatever you right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm gonna let you be right 1,000 times out of 1,000. And then two, the childlike behavior to put your hands on somebody, like you gotta be an emotional 3-year-old to punch somebody, a random stranger,
A woman.
a woman for not shutting up when you told her to be quiet.
In the
Like,
head, multiple headshots, like
yeah,
not
like
her head's
face
hitting the
shots and
wall.
headshots. So
Headshots.
what kinds of like what kind of 3-year-old behavior is that? Like that's something you do when you don't have no emotional regulation, when nobody's taught you anything. You know, like you're in the playground and somebody say something about your mom and you run up on them and you hit them in the head because they said something about your mama. Like that's stuff supposed to get sorted out in preschool. You're a 32-year-old man. Like
See,
how
that's a
is
great
that?
point, Court. But that's what makes me think like. So when I see situations like this, I start to think, what's going on in his life that's his response, right? And I'm not trying to make him a victim because he brought this on himself by putting his hands on someone. But I start to think about like that's his reaction to getting into some sort of like verbal altercation with someone. What's he seen in his life? What's going on over his home? Like is what did I start worrying about? Like he
Look,
has
I'm like
daughters.
Corey. I don't care.
No, and I know you know, and I know, but I think that like
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of times
important.
I'm looking at the big picture. The big picture
Yeah.
is like it's a lot of sickness out here. Like these like folks
For
are
sure.
sick,
People was hurting.
and
Well,
I'm
I
so
was thinking
glad.
he might be on pills or
Yeah,
drunk.
and I'm so
He
glad
wasn't drunk
that
at all. You can look. I ain't see nobody drunk. I just saw somebody who can't control their emotions.
someone angry. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah, I didn't see drunk or none of that.
I'm so glad that things like played out in terms of them not being charged or what have you. But even then, like the idea of that young man having to live with that, like that bothers me too because man, like somebody should have just de-escalated that. Like somebody should have walked away. But that's the thing with the ego, especially the male ego, right? Something that I'm personally working on is like trying to understand what decisions I make, even though I'm not in that kind of life. But I'm just saying, still, how many things are just ego driven? And when you start to like really sit down and think about it, you sometimes you say, man, like I'm really moving off of ego, and that's just an extreme case of it. But it's very problematic. But it's so many issues in that short clip.
Yeah, man.
It's like 25, 30 issues that we got to deal with.
Well,
I mean,
part of my problem with it is there's women egging him on.
That's a problem.
If it was another man, every man I've shown it to that's from Chicago area, they're like, oh, by the time he turned his body, I'm knocking him off. I'm punching him. Like they were, and she was so unaware that he was prepping to hit her. Like,
Yeah.
and he was very dramatic in the prep. Like, I'm
because
turning my body. I'm
you
pulling
can't
my
believe
arm
as a
back.
human that another human told you to shut up, and then it's good. Like it was probably shock. It was probably shock that.
So here's the thing.
It was probably shock and dismay. Like you really going to like run down on me? Like are you really crazy? Like you can't be really ready to do this in a city where everybody got a firearm. Like you know what I mean? Like you can't be like everybody got one. Like but that's Chopper City.
If that woman that he's with really cares about him, she's not egging him on. She could have de-escalated it, right?
Yeah, so come on, baby, let's go. That would have been the end of it.
Any woman in my life, that's kind of how it would have played out. Like, yo, I've been in a situation. Calm down. Let's go. It's not even worth it, because those are people that actually care about you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's another thing, right? Because I've read. Now I didn't see this. I read that the mom was telling the boy like hit her too. She's in here laughing. Like I don't know how true it is because I didn't see that in the footage.
The parking lot video. The video where they're. So he's got the bullet wound, which is that makes me even sadder. It's like the bullet hit the back of his head. So I don't think old boy was gonna make it anyway, but he started to run, and that's when they ran after him. And the son, of course. And what I want y'all to understand is, if this played out any other way, if the mom actually had the gun in her hands, and I know people are like, well, the mom did this. I said, listen to me. If the mom had her gun in her hands and she's been through all this training and she followed him out, that's a charge.
Yeah.
Like, this is a grace of God that the son went to the car. She's telling him to go to the car. And my knowledge, she's telling her son, like, get out of here. Right. Um, but even if her son, ran after him, he's 14. He didn't know. He don't know the law. Right.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a season, and I know people don't want to hear this from me, but I think we're in a season where the police are like, we ain't got time. Like, we ain't got time. Like, okay, show me a video. Like, the people on the scene were like corroborating her side of the story.
Yeah.
You saw the smooth cat daddy with the black and mallet in his mouth, heard him get out of there. And people like, why he ain't say nothing? Look at that frail man. He could barely stand.
Listen, he didn't get to be that old by being
Come
stupid.
on.
Yeah, but also that kind of escalated fast too, right?
Yeah, it did.
Because
that was a 30-second clip. That escalated. It went from talking to fighting in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, that escalated.
Oh, my grandmama, Pat. Like, it wasn't even no.
Now, again, maybe they were arguing before we see the footage, but the way the footage has been shown on the internet, that was like,
But how sad is that everybody's standing around while this is like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
To the point that she's telling her, go to the car, go to the car. I mean, in my head, even if it was 2-3 minutes before that, right? Like, how long it take to cook a sausage and some fries? Like, give them their food and get them up out of here. The Hispanic men didn't even care. They like, do, we cooking.
It was behind the counter.
They could have got hit.
Seen that.
They could have got shot.
They couldn't have. Like, my thing is this. Like, how do you coach that out of people though, right? Like, if you see, all you see is that, right? It, like, because that's all learned behavior, all of that. Like, her egging him on. Because he had to have done that before, because you don't egg nobody on to do nothing that you never seen them do.
Dude, he was so comfortable swinging on a woman like that. Just like, like that. Man, listen,
you can look at his rap sheet. He's full of domestic violence charges and other assaults.
Yeah, see, I didn't even know that. I'm not familiar with his rap sheet.
But just looking at him be that comfortable swinging on a woman
in public, where other men can see you, not even worried about the other men.
I don't even want to argue with a woman.
Yeah, that for me, people that got that kind of mindset don't care who in the room, right? So unless it's gangsters in the room, because my thing is you had to feel threatened, and so unless it's gangsters in the room, they're not going. Like, I always have a thing about people feel too safe doing crazy stuff, right? So that's always my thing. Like, if you feel safe enough to do that, that means people made you feel safe enough to do it. You know what I mean? Like, somebody somewhere didn't take care of that when you did it the first time. Somebody you ain't get your hand slapped, you ain't get your hand burned on the stove, you ain't get your, you know what I mean? Like, you ain't
but that's what I'm saying.
It was hot.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier. Like, it's so many issues. I didn't even know about the rap sheet. That's man. And the crazy part about it is, like, the story. You hear so many different variations of the story, but just that short clip, you could tell a lot of things. And the main thing for me was, first of all, dude was too comfortable. You never put your hands on somebody else. That's the other thing. Like, yo,
your rights are done. Once you reach out and touch, your rights are done.
Yeah, whatever happened to you, you can't tell people how to defend themselves once you start assaulting them.
Like, all right,
that's the other thing.
To the point that's on the screen now, I saw that too originally. That's why when I originally heard the story, it was a completely different story. Mm-hmm. Then as time came, time went, you hear a different story. It's like, man, that's why sometimes you got to really see what's happening as opposed to just making a snap decision.
Yeah.
Because they were like, I mean, I'm just going to go there. We have black conservatives that are like, when Cal Rittenhouse was going through things, they were like, Cal Rittenhouse, free him. This happened. They're like, she's a terrible mother. CPS need to be called. I said, first of all,
yeah, come on, man.
Come on, man. Like, they're suing the police, which I don't think she should sue. I think she should take that win and run with it. You know what I'm saying?
The first story I heard was similar to this. They said she was arguing with him and text the son. Like, he wasn't outside, text him to get to the restaurant and come handle somebody for her. That's a completely different story than what actually happened.
And you can see the car pulled up. They got out together. You can see he's standing there waiting with her. I mean, at the end of the day, again, when this comes out, more and more comes out, it'll be where the police were defamating her character to set this up. Like, oh, this is a quick little case. We're going to put them both away.
Every time. They do whatever they got to do to win cases. And most of the time, people don't have video evidence to say otherwise to what happened.
Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to be on a conspiracy thing, but there's so many things that come out about the police in Chicago. Like, in terms of them bringing the gun to the environments, like, a couple cops got caught actually bringing weaponry into Chicago. So, I mean, not to say that doesn't happen in every major city. I'm just saying.
Oh, it happened in Baltimore too. They had a whole movie
it
about
happened
it.
in
Oh,
man,
man.
listen,
Yeah.
we got straw
Baltimore.
purchase laws here because people was bringing in so many guns.
Yo.
We got straw purchase. If anybody who doesn't know what a straw purchase is that when one person buys a gun and sells it to another person that it doesn't belong having a gun. And so we got all kinds of straw purchase laws here.
Baltimore was wild though. Baltimore, the cops were the biggest gangsters. That story in Baltimore was one of the craziest ones I heard.
We owned the night. I watched that documentary. I was like,
oh my
God,
God, it was wilding.
So yeah,
Man.
it's sad. Thank you, Pascal, for the 99 super chat. Beware of consequences of your actions. He chose violence, neglect rational thought, and left with wings.
Yeah.
Not trying to be funny, but you can't go around threatening and attacking people. You really can't.
Yeah, you can't. You never know.
It's 2020. When he said it's not 1994,
if you're willing
I'm like,
to pay that kind of price.
Well, he paid the ultimate price.
He paid the price. But I'm gonna keep it a sour. He paid the price he's supposed to pay for punching some random person in the face. Like that's the price you're supposed to pay for that.
And I know how everybody. Listen, man. You can say what you want to say about our community, but the one thing I say about our community is we love our mothers, right?
Yeah.
You don't hit on no black man in my core. What do you do with somebody? You see somebody hit you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that. Like,
man.
And look how, I mean, I just tell people, a gun is just a force multiplier. The boy's 14. He's thin. Like I seen pictures. This kid is like right before you get your man growth spurt and you get some muscle on you. He real thin. Like that man would have punched him out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like if the way he was hitting that mom, her head against that wall, I said, man, if they wanted to press it and he had lived, they would have put attempted murder charges on him. Yeah. I mean, cops love, like you hit somebody in the head or you kick somebody in the head. I know a guy right now kicked the man in the head. Man, end up being fine, after hospital. But they hit him with attempted murder. They're like, oh, you kicked him in the head? Okay, attempted murder.
Trying to get him out of here. So let's
get
you out of here.
Listen, I saw what happened to Coach Cheese on Cooley High, man. Like, so that could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
That was a way old reference, but
it was.
I didn't see it when he
doing the most.
These daggone Gen Xers coming on here.
I tell you like this.
I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it on video. But go ahead, Corey.
I tell you these things. One, it wouldn't have got that far. As soon as he just start arguing with my mom, he would have had to fight me. Like my mom wouldn't have been able to get me out the store. He would have had to fight me in the store because I'm not leaving. I wouldn't have never left to go get the gun. That's the first thing for me. Like, I'm not leaving my mom in here with this dude while he raging. No, mom, you go to the car and I'm gonna wait for the food. You know what I mean? Like, that's me. That's what I would have done. But I'm not a 14-year-old boy in Chicago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I can't tell him. But for me, my mom would have never been standing there waiting because I would have been waiting and he would have had to argue with me. Then it would have been a fight amongst. It would have been a man and a boy, but it would have been a fight amongst men.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
and
he knew what he was doing. He was sending them to the ancestors. Like
no.
It was no hesitation when he came back.
No. Listen, and he wasn't supposed to, but it would have turned out different. It was me because my mom wouldn't have been standing there to get hit.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's just me. The other thing is that I can't lie, man. Like people want to say that they should have de-escalated in the store when his girlfriend is egging it on. Ain't no de-escalation.
Yeah, she's part of the people I'm talking about, Cora. I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm saying nobody. Even if she's the girlfriend, like calm him down. Like let's say that this murder doesn't happen, right? But he punches her on camera and then walks off. What do you get from that? Now to Ericka's point, they're looking for you for attempted murder, right? Yeah. So it's like
who goes around beating up people?
She's one of the people I'm talking about. Somebody should. Once it gets to that point, there's no win for nobody.
Yeah, it's no win. Like, but the thing is, right? I was an old man before I understood that, right? Like, I got run up energy. Mm-hmm. Like, so it ain't but so much talking we're gonna do before something gotta happen. So first of all, I wouldn't. That's why I let people win. Like I can't keep arguing with somebody. But like
you have to. But the thing is, to Ericka's point again, this is not a 19-year-old dude. This is a 32-year-old man with two kids. And your objective. You're at 11 o'clock at night. You want to get home to your kids.
I just want to get home safe.
I just want to wrap it up. She came in. She had a scarf. That man knocked her damn scarf off her head. I don't know if y'all saw the video of her running to the car. The scarf got knocked off her head. That's how hard he hit her against the wall. Knocked her damn scarf off.
And that's another thing. We're in 2023. There are cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
In the store, out the store, people around you.
You got to be a special kind of of not give a damn to you gotta have a special kind of sense of not give a damn.
Yeah, because
to do
his
some of this
his
stuff.
face is clear as day.
The store got cameras everywhere.
We got him in 4K.
Yeah, you got people
Not
with
4K.
cameras. Listen, you got people with cameras in the store. You can see them. Like he's thinking he about to make a World Star video, and what he end up doing is setting himself up to be.
He got a Faces of Death video.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He got Faces of Death instead of World Star, and you know what I mean. And that's another thing, right? Our media, right? The things, you know, we was just talking about watching the Ratchet, man. Like the reason why I don't watch these videos is because I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Like like you could. All I heard was some dude. The story I heard was some dude was arguing with some dude's mom and punched it. Everything after that, I don't care how it went down. Dude deserved wings. He gotta go. That's a gotta go situation. You hit my mama, you gotta go. And so at that point, like I didn't need to see the video because my family is everything to me. Mm-hmm. And my mama, especially when I was growing up before I made my own family, she was my everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So at that point, you get whatever, man, listen.
Yeah, but see, Core, this is why I was even talking about, and I wasn't trying to make him a victim, but I think this is also the conversation we have to have, because if we're going to talk about actually making a change and doing things, we have to catch these dudes before they feel like that is the kind of energy you want to give off. Right. You see what I'm saying? Like, again, I'm not making him a victim or whatever, but I don't know what his experiences are, but you talked about his rap sheet and all that. You got to catch people before they become these animals. When someone is born into this world, they are a clean slate. Mm-hmm. What happens from them on to that point till you become a 32-year-old man when you don't swing on a woman, who knows what has happened? Yeah. I don't know where you grew up.
What's your life look like that you even think about that?
So my thing is, we have to catch these people before they get to that point.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And I think that's the conversation too, because man, it's just sad overall, man. Nobody wins in this
at all. And like people keep saying they need to move. I'm like, for sure. Like Jeremy Brown is his name. Like I hate just saying the dude that punched, but her name is Carlisha Hood, which is, I'm not trying to be funny, but her name is
that's
Hood.
her name.
That's her name.
Irony.
And she's 35. Like she dressed like an older mom, but she's 35. He's 32. It's 3 years difference. And I just say, look how they dressed. Look how she's dressed, ready to go to bed, get them sandwiches, go to bed. He out here dressed like B2K. I mean, I don't like, bro, you 32 in these tight ass pants. What's going on? Get your life together. What the fuck?
Yeah, he looking like
I'm telling you, listen, there's only a few black men that can pull off dressing younger, like extremely younger. When you over a certain age, go ahead and put them cat daddy clothes on, keep it moving.
Yeah,
like, you be doing like you looking crazy.
Put them t-shirts and them regular size jeans on and stop
Come on, man.
Stop it. If you got to hop 3 times to get in your jeans, they might not be for you, broski.
Hey, listen, man, they be in their second childhood, man. Like, you know,
really hard.
I don't think he ever had. See, when you watch stuff like that, though, that's like a what second childhood? Like
he's still in his first childhood.
Still in his first childhood. Like you gotta be like that stuff that you get knocked out of you when you in elementary school, when you in pre-K, like hitting somebody for talking about your mom. Like my mom ended that for me. Like I got into a fight in like 3rd grade because some dude, we was playing the dozens and he was lighting me up. And he was talking about my mom, and I clapped off, punched him in his face and all that. Got suspended from school. My mom put me on punishment for a summer for that. To get that out my system, like, yo, like what she told me is his words don't stop my money. Mm-hmm. And they don't stop nothing. Like he can talk about me all he want. Like if he ain't paying no bills around here, you need to ignore him. I was like, damn.
Listen.
I was like, I'm 8 years old in 3rd grade. My mom put it straight to me, like, look, nothing he's saying is going to stop me from going to work every day and paying these bills. Mm-hmm. Nothing he's going to say is going to stop you from going to school and getting your education.
But see, that's the thing, though. You had someone to tell you that. And that's my point. My point is, this is why you got to catch him, before they get to that point. That man wasn't going to work tomorrow. He's about to hit the streets. Yeah.
And do criminal.
Yeah, he just woke up. He just woke up.
He hungry. He hangry. I'm like,
his breakfast.
It's crazy.
I'm glad he ain't have his kids with him. That's the only thing I could say about that situation. I'm glad his kids wasn't there to see their dad get clapped off earth.
Man, when they were posting a GoFundMe, I was like, for him, I said, baby, put that down. Take that down. He flashing money in every Facebook picture. Take that down. Go get some of that money he was flashing on Facebook. Take that down.
Yeah.
You can buy
Um,
money for $10 on Amazon.
well, here's the thing.
Ask me how I know.
The second part.
The young boys in my class was making IG videos. They was buying $10 money off of Amazon, and they was in there stunt like they actually did something for that money.
Oh my
They
god.
was stunting.
Some of your favorite celebrities do that too, but that's either here nor there.
Listen, I learned about the fake stacks of money a long time ago, and I'm like, why y'all doing that? That's so. I'm listen. This is if somebody's crazy enough, they will find you. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And the
True.
way that these internet folks are loose with their addresses, I can Google a lot of people and find their name, their address, their house, their home. I'd be like, y'all not even protecting yourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's like that season is over, right? We're in a
Yeah.
different season. I don't know if y'all noticed, but to me, 2019 to 2021, you had a lot of people just hit a lick, like
Yeah.
pow, hit a lick, get fast, get shiny, and now they got to really do it. They got to really show they doing it. Like the
Yeah.
the Truro, the Airbnb. I'm like, that was just a template businesses. Usually template businesses bring you like 5 to 10K a month. They ain't meant for you to make millions. You know what I'm saying? It's like having a cleaning business and having some of these smaller businesses. They can be as small or as big as you make them. But the second side of this coin was Dr. Umar. And I was trying to get the clip, but I can't. I don't want to play that whole thing. I just wanted a piece of it. And I can't take him. I mean, he's a amazing speaker.
What did Dr.
What
Umar
did he
say?
was it about that story? What did Dr. Umar do?
It happened. He interviewed before that story, but I would love to hear Dr. Umar after that.
Oh,
So Dr. Umar said, these women picking, basically the men on the panel are young men, which wears me out when you're under 28 talking about ridiculousness because you're too young. Go on somewhere. So the men were like, well, she should pick a responsible man to be the father's child, which they're picking Pookies and Ray Rays, right? So Dr. Umar, of course, goes back and says that shouldn't even be a part of their selection. We got to be mentoring these young men. So black men got to step up, and we ain't got, basically we ain't got nothing going on.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're
Okay,
talking about.
right. There you go.
Yeah.
Right. And so it goes into the whole mentoring. Now, Diamond Dave did a great job. I love it. I love his commentary. It was like 2 hours. I've never seen him do a 2-hour show. And he basically was like, why do y'all want productive people out here investing their time? Like, what do we get out of it? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I've been there. I even stood with him on it because I was like, in my church, if you were a single person, they automatically expected you to go work with the kids. Oh, you a woman, you single? Go work with the kids. Anything volunteer based, all the single people gonna do it. No, that's not how church works. Everybody does it. Do you know what I'm saying? Everybody throws in a day or two or a week or two.
Mhm.
And I've just seen that in my adult life. Everybody wants the village to step in and do something, but they don't want to hear when the village has a critique, right? The best thing Tim Jackson says to me in his boys group he has, moms always come to him when the child's already in trouble or just got arrested at 16, 17. He's like, no, bring me your son when he's 8 to 12.
Yeah.
And I say this
And
all the time.
that's exactly what I was saying. Catch them before they even get into that.
Yeah. I come from a family of like 20 boys and 4 girls, right? Like the cousins. We only had like 4 girl cousins and 20 boys. And to this day, the way our family was very military, very disciplined. The way they handle it, I still salute it because they were like, look, y'all gonna do this, y'all gonna do sports in summer, y'all gonna do this, and here's your choices. You can go in the military first, get your little 4 years out. Now you got a GI Bill and you can get a house and everything. And most of the boys in my family at 26, 27, when I meet them and I meet other 28-year-olds, I'm shocked because they're so much far ahead. They're disciplined, they're focused. Oh no, I'm gonna do this now because they already had their 4 years of acting right. And so
what I'll say about this is
There you
to the Dr. Umar point, right? So I actually agree with a lot of what Umar said. I watched that video when he talked about the responsibility of the men for making sure that when the woman has to choose her mate, that she has the appropriate men to choose from. Like I understood exactly where he was coming from.
I get the point.
Another thing I'll say about Umar, when people laugh when I say this is, so Umar has become a walking meme at this point, right? Where he but the thing is, I think
don't understand the work he's actually done.
So we're from Philly, right? So being from Philly, I've actually seen families that he's helped, right? Where they were getting ready to put the kid in particular classes and he does an evaluation. Like I've seen families that he's actually helped before he became a national kind of person. The work that Umar did on the ground, he actually helped families.
He did the work.
With that being said, I think he figured out how to become a national spokesperson, and I think he knows how to go viral, what have you. So that Umar, you know, I can't really speak to that, but what I can say is when he was actually in the community doing work, he was doing work. Now, the thing about it is, a lot of what he said is correct, but what you said is true. We have to be willing to accept critique, and we have to understand its critique. But that goes to that point I was making about the ego. A lot of times when you're operating from your ego, you don't understand critique. You jump right, you get defensive right away, as opposed to understanding someone's trying to give you, like, a critique to help you, make yourself better. But that's part of maturing and understanding that that's what's going on. Corey, you ever say something?
Yeah, because you can't give it, like, I'm not taking no critique from somebody I don't know. I don't care what
And
you
ain't
say.
done nothing.
Yeah.
No, I don't care what you did, man. I'm not taking a critique from anybody that I don't know and that does not know me. I'm not doing it. So I get that. Like, these youngsters out here, because the thing about that is that I've built a friend circle over a number of years where I get a lot of critique that I'll take all day long, all day and every day. You see what I'm saying? Like, if Jim has a critique of something, Jim always critiquing things that I do because I'm wild as hell. But I take that every time because he knows me and I know him. I'll take that every single time.
So I have a little bit
the
different
thing that I
perspective.
want to talk about is the building of the relationships part. This is not about whether you or not you take. It's about building relationships, right? When do we get a chance to build relationships if we're not online, right? The thing that we used to do is we used to actually interact with one another, right? We used to play ball together at the park. We used to run around in the streets together and ride our bikes together, right? We used to do all of those things, right? And so if my homeboy had a critique of me, he knows me. I could take that critique a whole lot different from somebody who's seen me do things and can see places where I might miss. Right? They over my shoulder, they can see something that I can't see, right? I can see that, right? I take critique from the women in my family because they see me grow up and they see me make all of the mistakes, and then they can point me. I'll take critiques from the men in my family and the men in my neighborhood because they see me grow up, right? But you can start getting some stranger online trying to give me a critique, and you know what I'm gonna get them? My butt to kiss.
So my perspective is a little bit different. Like, so I think it's more about the work that you've done. So if you've built something that I'm trying to build and you give me a critique of how I can get to the next level, even if I don't personally know you.
That's I wasn't really talking about that, but I understand what you
I'll listen to your critique then, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about getting better and being able to help more people. So
no, for that's 100%.
Yeah, so for me it's about, with the critiquing, it all depends upon who it comes from. So I think it's about the work that they've put in, right? And I guess that's what Miriam is saying too.
Yeah,
right?
what fruit has they produced? The number one reason I say that about have they done anything is when I had my coffee shop across from the black college, historically black college. I mean, every black person over 45 was telling me how I need to run this coffee shop and do this and do that. I'm like, well, do you have business? No. Oh, okay, so okay, thanks. Okay, put in the suggestion box. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think they would have felt that comfortable if I was a white person or Asian person.
Not. So that's the thing.
Maybe they were trying to help, but it doesn't come off as trying to be helpful.
So, and maybe this is the data scientist in me, right? So if you've done something before, that means you may have a data point that I don't have, right? But if you've never done anything like this, all you're doing is giving me your opinion. So to me, there's a difference between you giving me critique and giving me information versus just giving me your opinion, because I feel like you should do this based on what, right? So you have feelings and then you have data points. So if you're giving me a data point, you're giving me information I don't have, that's a little different.
Got you. Okay. So the reason I brought y'all on is because, in light of Umar, right? Like, in my personal opinion, there are plenty of people who have speaking careers their whole life. Les Brown, Claude Anderson, all kind of white dudes that I could list forever. And so Tracy Bryan, all these people, they speak. That's how they get paid, right?
Yeah.
5-10K a pop. They'll do it all year long, right? It is what it is. It's a whole business model. You can speak at colleges and schools. Colleges have all kind of money to pay people. The problem comes in is while we're shining a light on Umar, there are so many men in our community who are stepping up and doing the real work. And so I wanted to highlight y'all because I highlighted Marcus Klein and people like, I don't know who is this man. And so I was
Marcus
like, well,
Klein
here y'all
is
can
a
hear from
beast.
real people, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, who are already doing it. There's several Black men out there creating schools. So the fact that we keep harking on the one that didn't, it wears me out.
Yeah.
So talk to me about By the Hood Camp and what does it do for kids?
Okay, so a couple things, right? So what you just said resonated with me because I hear that a lot of times when you have like a police involved shooting, and then you see people say, "You guys only care when it's the police, but what about black on black crime?" And said that third. I'm like, I'm outside. There are people fighting for almost every
Every
issue
day.
in the streets. It's just that they don't get the notoriety. I know people that fight when it comes to criminal justice. I know people that fight when it comes to healthcare disparities. People fight for affordable housing, right? So there are people on the front lines fighting in all these different. First of all, we're being attacked all those ways, which is crazy in itself. But there are people on the front lines who are fighting all those fights. But to get to specifically By the Hood Camp, so like I was saying in the beginning, we taught adults. We had a lot of different classes for adults. We would go do things for free. And sometimes it got frustrating. But Corey, having the background as a teacher, said, let's do something for the youth. So we created this camp in the summertime. And the photos that you're seeing right there are from our actual camp where we sit down with the kids and we teach them about the power of ownership. We talk to them about real estate. We talk to them about the stock market. We talk to them about starting their own business. And this one coming up will be our 9th camp. Right now we're running it online. And how we got online was the pandemic happened.
Mm-hmm.
So we had no choice but to move it online. And once we moved it online, we started getting families that wanted to have this information from Houston, from California. People in even other countries were coming in. So we said, man, we haven't really figured out how to do the hybrid thing as of yet on a high level. So we're still going to keep it online. And we'll probably still do something else in the community live as well. But for right now, our main camp is online. This is kind of like the thing that we take the most pride in. We do a lot of work in the community. We speak at prisons, all the other stuff that you said, we do that too. We spoke at colleges, all that kind of stuff like that. But this is what I'm most proud of, right? Because I understand Diamond Dave's perspectives. And by the way, I love Diamond Dave. I tell him all the time.
Yo, he's one of my favorite people in the world.
He's one of my favorite thinkers. I told Dave this the other day. I said, the one thing I like about Diamond Dave is he makes me think. Even if I don't agree with him, he makes me think. And that's like the highest compliment I could pay anyone.
For sure.
But with that being said, the thing about it is Corey and I actually work in the stuff that we talk about, right? So this isn't us coming and telling your kid you got to set up a trust and 62 LLCs and all that stuff. We talk about we talk about it. No shots at anybody, but we talk about our actual experiences.
Pow, pow.
And we give them foundation and also vocabulary. So it's not about the kids understanding everything we teach them, but what we recognize is by them being exposed to certain vocabulary, certain language, and we have kids that have been every year that are now in high school and are doing amazing things. So we can see the actual results from the work that we've done in the community already. So this is just another opportunity for that. I'm looking forward to it. But we had take kids ages 5 and up, as long as they can read, they can actually come in. And we'll work with them meet them wherever they are and have them, understand a little bit more once they leave.
Can I tell you, this picture right here cracks me up. It looks like they about to bust out a mixtape. Sign up for our webinar.
You know what's crazy? We was in front of a public library where we had just spoken to like 25
that was before the library
at the free library, one of the free libraries in Philadelphia. This picture was taken right after that. I was burnt out. Anyway, the other thing about our camp is that the kids give us a lot of information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So when we want to know what's trending, like I knew TV was dying when we asked our kids in camp, like what channel you watch, and they was like naming YouTube channels. They wasn't talking about no TV channels. They was naming YouTube channels. I was like, oh, TV in trouble. Because ain't nobody, like who watching TV? My kids, if they watching TV, they want to act. My kids don't know, but for real, my kids don't.
Yeah, that's just one example.
I don't think my kids have ever watched the nightly news.
Right.
I don't watch the news because the news is too traumatic, and so my kids never picked up that habit. Right now, my kids read about the news, but they don't watch the actual city news. Right. So the thing about these kids is that they have a lot of information for us too, right? So when we do this camp, it's not just about the kids getting information. It's about us getting information so we can give it back to them in a different light, right? Because we know what kind of rappers they like. Like we, you know, because we do a lot of surveying during our camp because we want them to understand that information is king, right? And so when you have information, you can do a lot of things with information that you couldn't do without that information. And
Yeah,
so
that's the thing, right? So it's a lot of different ways that you learn from the kids about what's going on. It's interesting talking to them about like their favorite celebrities, and they're naming like YouTubers and TikTokers, and I'm like, oh, that's considered a celebrity now. But like it's a different time, right?
Right.
But the idea is like, you know, and you can actually go to our other website too, Ericka, which is specific to the camp, which is bythehoodcamp.com.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, if you go to bythehoodcamp.com and you'll see like, you know, information specifically about the camp, because that's where you can go register is bythehoodcamp.com. And it's for ages 5 and up, like I said. And we have parents that stick. We love when the parents stick around as well, because in our experience, those end up being our best students. So especially when we're doing it live, and we realized, I told Corey, I said, hold up, some of these people are using us as daycare, right?
Wait, look at this. Look at the difference in the video, y'all. Look at I want y'all to see how they standing. They got the dad pose. Hold on. Look at this. What is this? Like they work at a bank. Look at this. What is this?
hey,
that's for the camp, right? So
you know,
it's for the kids.
for the kids. I put on a collar shirt. That tell you everything you need to know. I put on a shirt with a collar.
Like he going to work at the school today.
So you know, this will be our 9th camp. Nothing but positive feedback thus far. It's a great time. We tell parents, if you want to, please stay, because you guys can help add to the experience. And those end up being our best students, because what happens is they leave the camp and then they have conversations with their parents about what they learn. And we have kids that are like, you know, 6, 7 years old, breaking down income statements. They can tell you how to store your crypto. They can tell you how you go about starting to save for real estate. They can do all these things. And another thing that I learned through this experience with the camp is sometimes our beliefs, they're only 5 or 6. I shouldn't be talking to them about this. And they're not being challenged enough. A lot of our babies aren't being challenged enough. When you challenge them, they're brilliant.
You meet those challenges right head on.
Yeah, and as long as you can relate to them with something that they're into, they pick this stuff up. But I've realized a lot of times that we're not challenging our youth enough. So getting exposed to things like this will help you see the world different, so you don't end up 11 o'clock swinging on women.
For real, they said it looked like y'all running for Congress. Somebody said getting ready for the father-son lynching.
You was making a mixtape to running for Congress.
Hey, listen, that's the dichotomy, you know, a little bit of both.
David Turner said, I just want to thank you, brothers, because our city really needs this rap.
Yeah, appreciate that, Dave. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I know Diamond Dave was like, so do you really want? But the thing I've realized is, through my experience in real estate, right, I've done tremendous things, and I've done more than I ever thought I would. But it's not as fulfilling as some of the feedback that we get from this project here, right? When you can actually see the impact that you have.
To watch a flower bloom, to watch a child grow and make connections to things that they couldn't connect before. Like those are the special, to watch parents be able to connect with their kids and say, look, I told you so. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's amazing.
So by the way,
we sponsor a kid is what,
right,
what the Classy Climb. I can challenge everybody at the Classy Climb.
So how we do our camp is completely free for all the kids. When we take donations, what we do is we tally up the donations and we make it transparent. Whatever number we get donations, we actually give back out to the kids in the form of a stipend, so they can start their journey investing. So we help them set up brokerage accounts and actually start to invest. So we take money through our Cash App, which is By the Hood LLC at Gmail. And also, you know, our cash tag is By the Hood. And, you know, any money that we get in for the camp, we actually give to the kids. So we don't keep anything.
They get 100% of the money.
They get 100% of the money. And we do that because this allows them to start their journey to becoming investors. And, you know.
So, you know, we were doing this out of pocket when we first started. So our first 6 or 7, 5 or 6. We put a pretty penny into those camps. Those kids walked away with a lot more than education. They walked away with with a
Jimmy
few
looking
dollars
like I'm
in their pocket.
tired.
Probably was that day because like when we were doing it in person, like we made sure they ate breakfast, lunch. We made sure like, and that was everything was out of pocket. Obviously we don't have those costs with it being online now. So anything that we got in now, we just literally give right back out to them.
Right. So Corey, are you in Texas yet, or are you still in Philly
I
right
will
now?
be in Texas August.
Why I don't believe you?
So my son is going to Delaware County Community College here right outside of Philadelphia. So my son is 16. He's graduated with his associate's degree.
Congratulations.
And so what's happening is he wanted to take the summer off, and I was like, no, son, literally, no, son. You're going to school over the summer. And so what I did, he was all online, and so I made him go to class in person over the summer. And so when I go back to Texas, when I fly him in to go, he's going to Texas Tech. So when I fly him to Texas Tech, then I'm gonna hitch a flight from Lubbock to Houston, and I'll be down there permanently.
That's a drive if you try to drive it.
That's 7.5 hours.
He going out to Afghanistan. That's what we call Lubbock out here. You want to be in Afghanistan? Like the football coaches call it that. They like
it's a college town though.
They like Texas Tech can't pay me enough to come out here to the desert.
Is that far?
It's 6 hours from here in Austin, where I'm at in Austin.
Man.
Yeah,
so you do the math. If it's not 6 hours, almost. No, yeah, 6 hours.
Yeah, Texas is crazy because y'all got all those big cities, but people be like, "Oh no, that's like
they're not even close."
They're not even. Yeah, they're nowhere close. Like, yeah.
No, listen, Houston to Dallas is 3 hours.
Wow,
that's like from Philly to DC. You got to go from Philly to DC. You got to go from like Philly to Vermont.
That's all in the same state though. If I'm going to Philly. I'm going multiple states.
Yeah, you going through 3 other states.
Yeah, I guess because someone on the East Coast, you don't realize just how big Texas is.
Yeah. Man.
I go from where I live to Dallas is 3 hours on the dot. It's like 2 hours and 58 minutes. From where I live to Houston is 3 hours on the dot. And so like my friend has a Tesla and we were leaving Dallas to go back to Houston, like a group of cars. And I said, "Oh my God, what happened? Did he stop?" He's like, "Yeah, I had to charge my car."
It's a long ride.
I said, "Oh no," but it's so quick. It's so quick, and I'm an East Coaster, so I remember being from North Carolina. I hop up, go see my mom in Maryland, Andaroon, and Fort Meade, Walter Reed, and then I hop on back on the road and be back in North Carolina, right? Or I've gone to Florida so many times. It's not even, it's like whatever.
You get used to driving.
Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. But that lets you know how big Texas is because those trips you're talking about going multiple states.
Mm-hmm.
You all in
one state.
5 hours, that's crazy.
Look, we've had people have a truck break down. I can't remember what city it was, but I think it was like Amarillo. A truck had broke down and the company's headquarters was in Chicago. So they called the headquarters in Houston and the people in Chicago people in Houston started laughing. They're like, y'all are actually closer to the folks in Amarillo than we are in Houston. Like by the time we get there, we both would leave and get there at the same time. So it's very funny. But the same thing with North Carolina. If I'm at the beach, I drive all the way across North Carolina. It's gonna take me 8 hours, but I'm gonna get to the mountains.
Oh yeah, that's if you.
So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. So they've asked how to sponsor. I'll put the links. I'll put their Cash App and all their stuff in here, and I'll email all our people at the Classy Climb. I want to show, and people are gonna say, well, what made them put a camp on, right? And so here. This is like I just saw this from Jimmy earlier on Facebook. I was like, "Who is this showing these houses?" Because I always make fun of Philly. Y'all know I don't even play.
Yeah.
And when I go to Philly to get them cheesesteaks, I'm gonna run in and out because they're gonna pit me in the legs. Because I be talking bad. I mean, they be showing me.
Philly. The thing about Philly, which is interesting, is that people live in Philly and have different experiences, right? So all the riffraff does go on, but it goes on in every major city. But there are people who live in Philadelphia that don't experience that at all.
Yeah, at all.
They live in $1 million homes and don't have anything to do with all the riffraff. That never happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like every major city. It's like that in New York too. It's like that in Boston.
But when they be showing me video clips out of Philly, they be going. I be watching these YouTube videos and I be like, we done drove for 20 streets and it's still rough. What's going on?
Don't get it twisted. It's hard body karate. It's hard body.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this: the kids is the most honest kids I've ever met in my life, though. They'll tell you about yourself in a second. They don't give a damn.
Yeah. I ain't got time. They be like, Ericka, why you pop that kid? I said, I ain't got time. I'm from the South. You
losing your credentials. You losing your credentials day one, huh?
Pow.
Yeah, you know, hey, listen, I done got a thick shell because like these young kids, they don't care at all. Like I was just teaching high school math, and these youngsters, man, like first of all, I challenged them, and
Mm-hmm.
so uh, you know, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit. My kids had the highest growth rate in the school, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing that the way I challenged them was I told them the truth, right? I said, put it like this: if you can't do functional math, everybody in your life is going to cheat you. Every single person.
Mm-hmm.
And people that don't want to cheat you going to end up cheating you because you can't count. You have to be able to do math at a functional level to be able to survive in the world and not be taken advantage of.
Right.
I just told them like, and it's not impossible for you to do that, right? Like let's get down to bare basics. Functional math is fifth and sixth grade math, right? Functionally,
Mm-hmm.
like if you can do math, when you add, subtract, multiply, divide, if you can do percentages and you can do measurements, you can function in this life, right? But if you can't do those things, what do you think your life is going like? What do you think your life is going to look like if you cannot do those things? You're going to be at somebody else's beck and call at all times
Right.
because you won't be able to functionally do those things yourself. So either you're going to have to pay somebody to do it or somebody's going to pay you to do it. And either way, these are things that you should be able to do for yourself. And so the truth is the thing that I use to build those things. Math wasn't even the thing that I used to make all of those gains for those kids. The truth was, right, because they focused in my class because I told them what to focus on.
Right.
Can you add, subtract, multiply, divide? Can you do fractions and can you do percentages and can you do measurements? Yay. Yes. Okay. Now I don't care what the state testing says. You're a functional. You're able to do functional math. That state test.
Right.
And so when they got to the state test, they were relaxed.
Well, here's the problem with that, right? Because which is unfortunate, right? I remember going to college and I worked at financial aid office, and so many black kids were scared to either tell their parents how much their refund check was, or were really ready to go do something silly with it because their family was in dire needs, right? And they would ask them for the money, not realizing this money is loan money. You
You
know what
got
I'm
to give
saying?
it back.
And another thing I see online on Facebook often is like people be like, I've been paying on my car for 2 years and it ain't gone down. And they be like, what's your interest rate? And it's like the most basic question. And they go look it up. They're like, it's 18%. And you be like, well, duh, like this is
So
why.
So here's the
they don't
thing.
understand that the bank gets their money first.
Yes.
You don't start paying for the car till you pay the bank.
Well, here's the thing, right? So sometimes we're in a bubble in terms of the people that we talk to every day, the things that we see. When you look at the actual data, though, the data even shows that most people that look like us don't even invest in the stock market
At all.
So we invest more in real estate and other things, which we should, but we don't invest in the stock market. We don't understand personal finance. Now, sometimes because again, we're in our circles and we talk to other people who create content,
stuff, yep.
who do this thing. We talk to people that actually trade every day or invest every day, but that is not the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And you can look at the data and see that. You can look at the amount of money that's being borrowed and see that. So I think sometimes we need to like really take a step back and focus on what's really happening in the facts out there versus like, what we see on a day-to-day basis, because we are in our bubbles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that that's very, very important, because when I talk to people and tell them what the actual data looks like, they don't believe me
At
and
all.
I'm like, well, this is a fact, right?
I think it's almost like not even. I mean, there was a number like white or black. 80% of Americans ain't even stock market, right? Like their retirement by their company or by the teachers union or the firefighters union or
is their only source in the stock market.
right.
Yeah. So
they don't know what you're talking about. They're looking at you like, who? What?
So that's the thing. So, but a lot of times because we talk to the people that we talk to on a daily basis, we don't really see that this is what's going on. When we look at the numbers in terms of the wealth gap, when you look at things in terms of income, and even with income, they play games and they talk about like the average income is them. They don't ever take the median
income.
Yeah, if you look at the median income is the median income for a black family. I looked at it,
$35K.
It's less than 40K. We look at the median.
Right.
You can raise the number by saying the mean, which is the average. But if you look at median income, which is a better indication, right? Now, the thing about making 38K is you could break that down to what you get a month. The average cost to live in this country with basic necessities such as healthcare, mortgage, just the basic things, is a little over $5,000 a month.
$5,130 a month.
Yes, it's 5111. $5,111 per month is what the average cost is. Now, I say that to say, just looking at data, forgetting anybody's feelings or opinion, the average black family is starting every month $1,200 in the hole.
Bam.
That's just data. That's not my opinion.
That's not opinion. That's facts.
Yeah, that's what the numbers say, right?
Corey, like facts.
Yeah, so that's what the numbers say. That's not my opinion. So I think sometimes we need to like really look at what
messing with Jim. Because I did data all the time, right? Because when you're in the sports, you do data all the time, right? But you don't realize that you're doing data when you're into sports as heavy as you are. But we start on our shows, we start giving out the data. 98% of Americans don't pay their credit card bills on time.
In full
on time.
Everybody online tells you I'm just getting the points and I'm paying the whole thing off.
98% of adult Americans.
That's not what the data said.
Not 90%, not 67%. 98% of adult Americans are not paying their credit card.
Those that have a credit card balance, right? So you have people that don't have a balance, but those that have a balance,
98% of them are not paying them in full.
According to my timeline, everybody pays their stuff in full, right? So
wait, real quick. Like I mentioned 75 million working Americans make 30K or less a year, and I'm at a table with all my friends. Everybody at this table is either in tech, they're an entrepreneur. They looked at me like, oh, that just can't be right here, because that just who could live like that?
Because we're in our bubbles, right? So and that's the thing though, right? So sometimes I even have to recognize my privilege, because when you look at it, I had people in my family that made sacrifices to allow me to go get a graduate degree, to go to college, right? So, but the people I surround myself with have those things as well. But because I work in data, I'm always looking at the data, and because of some of the work that we do in the community, I actually talk to families. You know that there's like 40% of Philadelphians don't even have access to the internet.
Outside that phone.
So we're talking about, like, I remember when the pandemic first happened, and we were talking about going live.
Oh yeah, let me talk about that, because my wife was on a panel to make sure that kids had free internet access. So my wife had to go to Comcast during the middle of the pandemic and ask these people to give these kids free internet, and she helped the school district of Philadelphia set up a program for kids who wanted the internet and didn't have it in their house. And it was like 5,000 families. She was thinking she was going to get 500, 600. It was like 5,000 families.
Yeah,
that she had to help set up get internet, man.
You gotta look at what's going on.
Dang.
I guess my overall point is, like, half of the stuff you see online is not real.
It's a fugazi.
We gotta look at what's really going on, and work with that, right? And it's not. That's not to say that folks aren't out here doing well, because there are a lot of folks that are doing well. Like you said, there are people that work in tech, people that do that. But I'm talking about, overall.
Well, that's the crazy part, because I know people that are doing so well, they can't say how much they did. They have to keep pretending like, oh, I'm just out here. I'm a man for the people. They can't even, because our Malik came on, and this is what made me think of y'all. Malik came on a little while ago, and I was like, Malik, the funniest thing that happened in the pandemic, not trying to be funny, but was you were driving around in that van that was dented up, and some man like, you ain't rich. You driving a minivan. Malik's like, what you want me to do? Drive a G-Wagon to the construction site in Philly?
Yeah.
like
come on, that's a quick way.
That's bad business.
Shout out to Malik. Malik was just in that picture you showed at the camp too, by the way.
Yeah, I saw him in there. I was gonna say something.
Yeah, but that's our guy. But like, it's true. It's absolutely true that people want to see it. Like, and that's part of, like, our conditioning as well. We don't believe it until we see it. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Diamond Dave, man. That's our guy right there.
Yes, indeed.
Listen. Yeah. Well, and that's what was leading me into this conversation on, like, real estate. Y'all in Philly taking advantage, not the word advantage. I'm trying to think, taking an active role in the real estate, but also in stocks.
Yeah.
And what led you down that road? One, for the real estate, and two, for the stocks, of course.
All right, so I'll be very brief. So my original start in the real estate, actually. I was trying to study political science. When I graduated high school, I wanted to study political science. I come from a family that was taught to be of service. So I thought that the best way to serve the folks would be to learn politics and go the political route. So I went to Lincoln University, HBCU here in Pennsylvania. Historically, Lincoln University is a very, very, very prominent school. Thurgood Marshall. And anyway, with all that being said, so I went to Lincoln. I was majoring in political science, and after my first year, I did some internships, and I worked on a couple political campaigns. I'm talking about like judges, DAs, things like that. And I had an observation. And when I say I was working on campaigns, I was literally an intern. I was getting coffee and answering phones, to be honest with you. But what I noticed was when certain people would call, when certain people would need information, it didn't matter what was happening. Whoever the candidate was would answer that call. They would do it. They would stop whatever they were doing. It didn't even matter. So when we would have fundraisers, I would ask questions. And they would say, well, I own this building, or I'm in this real estate, or I own this company. So it occurred to me that, okay, well, the politicians aren't really running things or have the juice. It's the people that fund them that are really making these decisions. And we don't even know who these people are, but they own all the real estate. So I went back to school and changed my major to finance. I want to learn now. I want to learn about how this game is played. Shortly thereafter is when the first edition of Powernomics came out. Someone gave me Dr. Claude's book. So I got a chance to read his book and read what he was saying. And because I was working in those campaigns, I actually saw what he was saying in the book take place when he was talking about people buying politicians and focusing on economics and then getting into politics, then getting into education. I saw it play out with my own eyes. So then I went on a lifelong journey in terms of studying money. So like I said, I work in real estate. I've studied pretty much everything there is to study about finance. I got all kinds of certifications, certified in Bitcoin, certified in this. So I do a lot of things within finance, but my journey started from politics and then seeing how politics actually work.
That's crazy because I was John Kerry. Back in the day, I was all the way on the other side of the aisle, y'all. And then I was like, this crazy. And then I was doing local stuff and realized all the local Republicans were really Democrats, but it was like, I either got to be a Dixiecrat or I got to be a Republican to get into office,
What
So
you
I
said
didn't
is
learn
key,
so
though.
much.
What you said is key, though, local politics, because I think sometimes we get caught up in the national scene.
Facts.
And not understanding how when you get active in the local scene is how you really have an effect on your life. These judges, right? You talk about these kids going before these judges. These judges are elected, right? Talk about the judges, these different commissioners, traffic court judges, city council people who control the budget that determines where money goes and where it doesn't go. When you get active on a local level and you see how things are really done, that's how you have a bigger impact, right? So we talk about money a lot, but politics is a part of it. But when you see how those things connect, because everything is connected, education, criminal justice, our real estate, our tax, all these things are connected. It's almost like The Wire, right? When you watch The Wire, all these things, they got the docks going on, you got the streets.
I couldn't.
And
I couldn't watch it.
But the thing is, they're all connected. When you look at it, when you take a step back and look at it like from a macro level, everything is connected.
Well, my famous saying, I need to get it trademarked because I heard somebody say the other day, I'll say, don't do it. All roads lead to real estate.
Yes.
If you look at 80% of our complaints in the Black community, oh, the rent went up. We had to move further out. They didn't give me the loan. Like 80% of our stuff is real estate based conversation where grandma losing her house. Huh?
Everything goes back to land because even our biggest tax base comes from the landowners, right? Mm-hmm. So everything has no choice but to come back to land, because anytime a society is productive, a lot of that productivity and value tends to flow to the land, right? This is why not changing the subject, but this is why the argument, even for reparations, is a real argument, because when you look at in economics, we have 4 agents of production. They're land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship/management, right? So land being one of the biggest ones, the other one being labor. But when you talk about getting free labor for hundreds of years, that means you had one of the agents of production you never even paid for.
Right.
But because those are the 4 agents of production, all roads do lead back to real estate, because the land is where the value tends to lie within, how our framework and capitalism works.
Well, and the crazy part about all this is when I tell people, so today I did a little quick video on credit, and everybody's credit, and I saw y'all made a little post like, you hear about business gurus and credit, right? And my first thing was, the credit talk is only for people playing the game, right? Because level 1, like level 0 is I just go to work, I pay rent, I'm always moving because I don't own nothing. I got different cars, and that's what I do until I'm 50, 60 and my back is broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Level one is I'm at least fix my credit enough to go get a house and a car. Cause now I'm at FU status. Like I can do what I want. I can go sit in my house. I can do other stuff. It takes like 3 years for somebody to get you out your house foreclosure style. It takes a long time. Level two is when you start talking about credit cards and travel. Level three is the commercial investment stuff. And so a lot of times we're doing all this business credit talk and we ain't even got the basics, right?
That's my whole point, Ericka. And I'm glad you said that because I actually have a post I'm gonna put up tonight where I was talking about that because I have people coming to me and they don't have any assets, they don't have any money, their credit scores are 400, and they're coming to me asking me like, how do I set up?
Stop talking about my business online.
No, they're coming to me. They're coming to me asking me like, how do I set up a trust? And I'm like, why do you want to trust? Well, because the people on IG say that everybody needs a trust. I'm like, dude, you don't got a job. Like, what do we
Dude,
do?
You gotta say people. You could say Corey.
First thing I say is, first thing when people have book calls with me and say, oh, I need a trust. Do you have 75,000 in an asset or anything just sitting right now? No. Well, then what you need trust for? Like you don't even meet the requirements.
Let's start with the foundation. Let's start with the foundational stuff. I've seen people actually pay, and the thing is, people will take their money. I've seen people take people's money, several $1,000s, set up a trust, and then they get the trust set up and have nothing to put in it. And I just want to, stop falling in love with the lottery tickets and the sexy things that we see online, and really build your foundation. You got to build your foundation.
Trust is there to pass on assets. If you don't have any assets, what is the trust for?
Well, the funny part about that is this is one of these I don't want to get married. I don't want kids. You're talking about trust. What you need to trust for? Your money going back to the government, baby. Just go ahead and sit down. You good, brother?
Man,
like when you die, it's going back to the government.
Speaking of that, right? So my aunt just passed, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
She had a pension with the school district that she earned over 30 years of working with the school district. And I learned some hard lessons about because she didn't have any children, she wasn't married, and we learned some hard lessons about assets and asset protection during that time. And people like don't die without a will, and do not die without insurance. And for sure, if you have those kind of assets, put that, will that to someone, to someone, right? And because her assets that she did have weren't properly set up, a lot of that came out of pocket. You know what I mean? Not a lot of it, all of it did. I ain't gonna say whose pocket, but it did.
Right.
And that's a mess. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't even grieve properly because we was trying to get money to do the things that we needed to do to get her in the ground properly.
Right.
Happens all the time. Yeah.
And so what I want to say about that is you need paperwork, but it might not always be a trust. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You gotta be diligent, just as diligent and willing and trusting those things to people as you are about getting and building it. You have to be just as diligent. The biggest gangsters in the world don't carry guns; they carry pens.
Facts.
The biggest gangsters, the paperwork gangsters, is the hardest gangsters in the world because they control the gangsters with the guns. Listen, paperwork gangsters are the biggest gangsters in the world. You ain't gotta believe me. Just look at your local politicians, look at your state politicians, and look at your federal politicians. If you don't believe those are gangsters, you don't know what a gangster is, because they can use their pen and their words to change the outcome and outlook of your life.
Well, I did a show on Philly talking with Malik about how the guy on city council y'all had was like, yeah, we gotta stop these wholesalers. And someone pointed out, sir, you just bought all your last 100 properties from wholesalers, but you on city council with the stroke of a pen, telling people he gonna change it.
I was watching on YouTube. It was I forgot the creator's name. I don't want to say the wrong name, but it was a lady. She's an attorney. She creates content, and she had pointed out that if you look at the federal level, almost all of them, it's like 200 and some odd people in the House that are real estate investors, and they have a law in place that if you sit on the senator, you sit on as a senator, what have you, you can only make $25,000 outside of as an outside business. But there are 3 exemptions from that: landlord, the stock market, and book deals. I said, how is that even possible? Right. But these are the three exceptions. The three exceptions are being a landlord, money in the stock market, and book deals. Outside of that, you can't have a business that makes any more than $25,000. They cap it out. So her point was she started drawing a parallel about how much money they put into rental property. And if they're putting all their money in a rental property, they're never going to, they're going to create legislation, to your point about why everything leads back to real estate, because the people that have the paperwork gangsters that Corey's talking about, they're protecting their own bag.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number one thing is, like somebody said, it's just like people talking about online about prenups and they barely got 2 pennies to rub together.
Well, I'll say this. You should, the less money you have, the more there's a need for a prenup. Because if you don't got nothing, giving away half of nothing is nuts.
Well, that's the funny part is when I'm online and men are like, I was left homeless. I said, oh man, you got divorced and you were left homeless? And then the guy goes, well, not me, my friend I know, or somebody else I know. Because I was like, if you were left homeless, that means you ain't have shit. Y'all didn't have shit when y'all was together. So like,
but see, what happened is if they divide marital assets and the house is all y'all have, if you don't have a prenup of some kind or some kind of paperwork, you could be living in the house and have it sold from underneath you. So you could possibly,
that happened to my cousin.
You could definitely end up homeless through a divorce.
But there are a lot of folks online talking about things like, people with the business credit and they don't have a business. Like, I'm not gonna put nobody's name out there. There's a dude in Philly, like, he talks about business credit. And I asked him, like, what's your business? Like, his business is getting business credit. He just gets business credit, I'm like, but there's no business. You have nothing to service the debt.
But that's the crazy part, because the first question people ask sometimes in my funding course when I'm doing training, well, how do we pay back these cards? With a damn business. That's how.
Yeah, with the business.
Don't spend a drop of the card till you have a business.
So people got to stop putting the cart before the horse. Like, we got to really just take a step back. And again,
this is why teaching the kids is important.
Exactly.
The kids in our camp will not be doing this foolishness.
Yeah.
Somebody said fugazi. They ain't heard that in a long time. East Coast.
Absolutely. Straight fugazi. And
fugazi.
But that's why we gotta bringing it back. This is why it's important to teach the babies about the foundational things to help them build on.
That's what our camp is about.
Yeah, so they won't make these kind of crazy mistakes, because there's so much bad information online. It just really is.
Well, you know what it is? I consider it not bad. And people get mad at me for this, but it's not bad information. It's like the telephone game in classroom. Corey might remember this from school. You tell the first kid, he tell all the other kids, and by the time you ask the last kid what was said, it's something else. So it's like we're talking about business. We're doing long form content. We're educating people. By the time you hear it, they hear PPP loan and let me go start an LLC. You like, wait a minute, what?
So to your point, that's correct. But then there's certain people who are just straight scammers too.
Oh man.
So we got that too. So it's I mean, it's a lot. It's like the world, right? So I don't blame anyone. I don't throw anybody under the bus.
Right.
Because sometimes people are just ignorant. They don't realize that what they're talking about are federal offenses.
Right.
I've seen people. I've seen people get on and give people information. I'm like, don't they know? I have people that
going to jail.
I have clients.
Well, no, hey Corey, actually no. We actually showed here a statistic about white collar crime. There's not enough attorneys. Like the states are all overburdened. They like we don't have time.
Because bodies are dropping. They gotta.
They really don't. I mean, I'm not even joking.
That's a crazy thing
to say. It said like,
but here's the thing,
50% won't get prosecuted.
So what'll happen is they'll let you operate until they want to come get you too. That's another thing they do, right? So a couple clients I have are real estate investors who are cops and district attorneys. What they'll do is they tell me, we'll notice what they're doing and let them do it, because we're letting them dig a hole big enough that when we do come to get them, it's gonna be hard for them to get out.
All right. So let me tell you my story about how the feds came and got me. Right. So my son is autistic on the spectrum, and I was receiving a benefit from the state to send him to a school that cost about $1,300 a week. I did not know that I could not have more than $3,000 in assets for him and his name to receive this money. It was nowhere on the form that I signed. I looked at the contract that I signed. It was nowhere, but it's a law here in the state that the child that's receiving these benefits, if they're state benefits, cannot have more than $3,000 in personal assets. Well, he had more than that on the day he was born, because I started he had an account,
Right.
and they let me do this for 6 years. They tracked me for 6 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they did catch me, they tried to charge me with fraud. I'm like, you could have did this 6 years ago. I didn't know that what I was doing was wrong,
Right.
and they literally can't. They froze my accounts. They
Mm-hmm.
froze my brokerage accounts. They froze my bank account. They froze everything. When they were done taking their pound of flesh, all I had was to my name was $600, literally. And this was in 2018, 2019.
So they made you
So
pay back the
they
funds
they
received.
they froze everything and
Right.
no, they didn't make me pay nothing. They took it and then was like, yeah, we still gonna charge you with fraud. After they ransacked my whole joint. So if I had a defense to mount, I didn't have nothing to mount it with. They literally
Right.
ransacked my joint. They ran everything. And the lucky for me is that I was buying properties at the time. I was buying tax lien properties
Mm-hmm.
for like $600, $700. And I literally took that last $600 I got and bought a tax lien property and sold it to get back on my feet. Literally, they went through everything and took everything. They didn't charge me with nothing because I was like how many? If you charging me, how many other parents you gonna charge with this?
Thousands.
Come on. I was
But
like,
that's the point I was making.
they
Sometimes
stall you out.
yeah, that's what they do. And I've had them tell me, they were like, look, we know who's doing what.
And I wasn't
We're
even
not stupid. They have internet too. They have social media too.
I am not opposed to doing a little criminal chicanery, but I wasn't even on that.
Stop
I
it, sir.
wasn't
No.
even on that.
Well, that's my see. This leads me to where I'm very upset with the people going, everything's a scam, because other people are coming from other countries to America and they going straight to a business piece of paper and their side hustle and making money, and we're over here shooting each other in the foot. Like, oh, I think that's a scam. Nah, real. I've seen real scams, and I'm not knocking Philly for no reason, but like, there's people in Philly doing real scams, but because the person participated in it, and they're doing application fraud, you can't even go get the real scammer because you, as a person, has participated. So you both
listen.
got to go.
Can't even say nothing.
So what I'll say is this,
So-
right? I'm not going to defend my city because we up there on the list. We're
Y'all
not as bad as
wildin'.
Atlanta, though. I think Atlanta might be number one.
That's because all the New Yorkers came to and was like, y'all don't know what we be pulling
Yeah,
up.
I mean,
That
that might be true.
on that list too.
That might be true though too, because no one who's in Atlanta is actually from Atlanta. So you might be right there. That might be New Yorkers, but we have you on the list too. But again, this is why the foundation of what it is we do and we teach the kids, right, are a couple things.
Financially literate soldiers.
Yeah, but also we teach about the power of networks and the power, to be honest with you, of Black love. And what I mean by Black love is when you see someone that's your brother, your sister, you treat them a little bit different. So when you look at these people as being kind of like, part of your community and part of your village, you operate different, right? And, I say that to say that the real power in this world is in networks. Yep. So a lot of times we talk about these assets, but these assets put you in a position to have bigger networks, right? But it's really about the network. People that have power have the ability to pick up a phone and get something done. And a lot of our powerful people, guess what? They aren't the people with the most money, but they're in certain rooms and they have certain networks. So even with our camp, we tell the kids, one of the things we want you guys to take from this is to kind of like build with each other. The fact that you guys are in this space because your parents put you here, who knows where you'll be as you continue to grow and you continue to learn. So that is something that I saw. I saw that on Kamari's page about IRS. Yeah.
Because listen, let's go there.
No hanging fruit.
And this is what I see when I look out. I see a lot of young folks. They'll be, oh man, I jumped up. I started a podcast. I did this. I'm getting business funny. I'm doing business credit. And I'll just watch their stuff for a few minutes. I'm like, do you know what you just posted on Instagram is bank fraud? It's like, just like post. I'm seeing the post and I'm like, y'all aren't lovers of business, right? What do I mean lovers? I mean, like, I spent like $180,000 between 2017 and 2019 before the pandemic of like education. And there was, even in the groups, I wasn't even following all the rules. Like when I was in one of the groups, they were like, look, everybody make yourself an employee of your company, do this. And when the pandemic came around, Everybody who didn't make themselves an employee, that was a hiccup with EIDL and other loans. And so we aren't even studying. We're just like, let me jump into it. Let me get a flip. Let me do this. Like, and again, not that white people in other groups have it all figured out, because I'm in some of these mastermind groups and it's like dumb as a box of rocks folks going
they
on.
do
But
it just bad. Yeah, it's just that we see ours because that's who we talk to.
We're just very loud. We're out there. We're showing it. And then, if you Diamond Dave did a great video. I think he took it down or he put it behind his paywall, where he was like, swaggy swag, Jay Morrison. If you actually read the paperwork in just basic math, like if I give you $500 times 8% is $40. That's it. Like, this ain't even an argument.
He promised to give you $40 back for your 500.
And so when you hear these people,
that's an amazing deal. Give me 500, I give you 40 back. I mean, listen.
I mean, he didn't scam him though. He put it in the paper. When we were reading the I don't know about y'all, but as soon as he put out the paperwork, I read the joint, and I'm like, it's not 8% a year. It's just 8%.
8%. Courtney fired me up. Courtney fired me up when I said something about it.
Courtney wrote a whole thing about that, about his prospectus. So, and she caught heat for that too. A lot of people were like, really went at her about that.
Hater and this and that. And I'm like,
yeah. But I mean, again, this is the difference between data and feelings. We got to get out of our feelings and start looking at data.
Right. And just basic math, it's a calculator move. Like when somebody tells me, like when you sign the paperwork on a car at the car dealership, and it'll be in the groups and they'll be like, oh my God, I've been paying on this car for 2-3 years and it ain't even worth all that. It's underwater. Should I get rid of it? I'm like, first of all, is it taking you to work? Then keep driving it till the wheels fall off. What are you talking about?
Literally.
It's underwater. Y'all have the asset classes backwards. This car will always depreciate. It ain't never going to be worth more than what you think it is, right? Like that's never going to happen unless it's a Jeep, you know what I'm saying? Jeep sell forever, right? But the game y'all trying to play is what you play with houses. We stuck in like elementary on the cars. But I'm gonna answer. Let's see if we can answer this question. And y'all can tell me more about the stock market in a second. Kevin Bean, hey, what are your thoughts on Airbnb bookings being down 50% and the possible real estate implications, or I don't know what the word is. You're looking for implications. Thank you. I have a little speech impediment. I'm struggling. I'm trying. Work with me, y'all. Go ahead.
So I did see that, and I saw it was a lot of news about that come out today. And I mean, everybody I talked to knew that was a bubble anyway, right? The Airbnb thing was in fact a bubble that's going to burst. And what I'm seeing here in Philadelphia, the listings go up and up of people that were buying property strictly with the intent of making them Airbnbs, and now they're selling them for like no profit at this point. They're just trying to get out of the properties. A lot of them aren't selling, so I think it will have implications. But the thing that scares me the most about what's going on in real estate, that isn't it, because that's such a small amount of real estate. What scares me is what I see happening in the office space. When I look at the data from the office space, specifically in the major cities, the actual occupancy rates in some places is less than 50%, and it's hovering around 50% for some of the major cities because people are working from home now. There just isn't a need for office space the way that it was.
They got Congresses around the country writing rules about telework. Like they're making people come back to work.
That's all about real estate. That's all it is.
Yeah. It's 100% about real estate. But that's to go to the point about what you're talking about and to tie it all together. This is what's happening because they don't want another 2007, 2008 to go there, because the real estate was the precursor to the crash.
So there's also a study that was recently done in Philadelphia, but it was talking about not just the office occupancy, which is like down about half, but what that has done to all the businesses that are surrounding these offices. So many restaurants have closed. The buses are riding around almost empty. Small businesses that make all their money from folks coming in to work in the office are just closing. So that is the part that scares me even more so than this Airbnb, is what I see happening. I don't think it'll be as bad as 08 because leading up to 08,
the buyers are better.
Leading up to 08 was a piece of work. But what I do see happening is more land, more value being consolidated amongst a smaller group of folks.
Man, because you got your Black Rocks and your Blackstones and your JP Morgan Chases. They're out here buying it all up. Like they're taking it all.
So Someone said, and I'm from, I'm in Austin. The domain in Austin commercial real estate is interesting because they continue to build even with low occupancy. So again, what you guys have to understand about building and permits, a lot of this stuff was already in the books 2 years before the pandemic. So
Mhm.
they was gonna build. They had the loans, they had the documents, they had the permits. The thing about the domain and what you guys don't understand about Austin is they're projecting like just an insane amount of people coming here, and there's this kind of seasonal living, like when older people have what they call them snowbirds, where y'all from on the East Coast,
Yep,
snowbirds.
snowbirds.
Now we got snowbird adults, right, where
Mhm.
they do half the year in New York in the summer and then they spend the rest of the year out here. So some of that in the domain commercial and real estate is built because it was already pre-planned to be built. And on top of that, there's companies already scheduling themselves to move. Like New York and California still have like 3 or 4 million people scheduled to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is future projections. So they
A lot
leaving.
of it, a lot of them are coming here too. But
Yo, that's
what I see
crazy.
happening in development is a lot of the bigger buildings that were once just office spaces are being reconfigured. So now they have a type, I forgot the term for it, but what it is where they have residential, commercial, and they have everything literally under one roof. They'll have a restaurant, people can work. So it's like they call
Yeah.
it's work play live is what they call it. Work play
Yeah.
live buildings. That's like one of the newest trends now. These huge buildings that used to be nothing but office space, they put a couple condos in there now. So you may have a job on the first floor, a restaurant's like in the basement of this building, and then you have your own apartment upstairs. So that's like one of the newer things. The thing about real estate is space will always have value, but sometimes it'll just be the way it's being used will
Yep.
change
Yep.
the value in use.
Yeah, man. I know a little bit about people relocating, right?
Hmm.
So in Texas, like the little town we were in, the I live right outside Houston, and that town that I live in had 24,000 people in 2008, and it's 105,000 people now.
Because you know why? That USDA, no money down house loans. Well, it's the
Man,
largest
listen,
population under 50.
I ain't get, I wish I would have got one of them, but I ain't getting none of that. But the thing about it is, though they moving out there in droves,
Yep.
like in droves. Like, my uncle, he has a 10-acre ranch, um, in New Caney, which is
Hmm.
New Caney, Kingswood, then it's Houston. So it's those little towns right there, right?
Hmm.
Um, New Caney had, when he bought the ranch, like 11,000 people. It's like 200,000 people there now, and it's absolute chaos. So his land went from he bought the land for like $40,000. It's worth like $3 million.
So I know a lot of people moving to Texas, right? And I was wondering like what's going to happen to the people that have been there, right? Because at
They
some
move
point,
further out.
yeah, they're going to have to because prices. I mean, you know what happens when you get an influx of people like that, right?
Oh, well, listen, I meet people today. Like I'm in Austin and I meet people who like, oh, I live in Liberty Hill. I'm like, Liberty Hill, 45. What you doing down here? Like, and I keep trying to explain this to y'all, especially during the pandemic. Y'all saw this. If you're a husband and wife, and your girl about to be there in a few, in a
Ah,
few months, I'm about to be cutting up
congrats.
out here. I'm gonna be like my husband, my husband, my husband. Um, and you got kids. Like I was out at my construction site in Killeen today, and I was looking at the neighborhoods. I'm talking about Killeen. It gets all this bad rep because it's a military town and it's an hour outside of Austin. They buying houses that we would buy for 750,000 for 250,000.
Yep.
Mm.
And so when you live further out, like I'm a part of apartment syndication group, they're building in Conroe, and they say we'll never build in Houston again. We're gonna
Yep.
build in
I live in
Conroe. We're gonna
Conroe.
build.
That's
Yeah,
where
they're
I
gonna
live
build
at.
all around there because ain't no point. Like they like we not.
I have
we're not
3
doing that.
properties in Conroe that I copped already, and I
Yep.
paid altogether for those properties like $375.
Damn,
Each one of them is worth $375.
that's nice.
So this is one of the issues that we have in Philly right now, right? So a
Mhm.
lot of times people say, well, what's going to happen in the real estate market? It has to be going down. Well, we have an issue where we don't have a lot of supply.
Mhm.
So because we don't have a lot of supply, the numbers are actually going down.
Demand is always high.
So because think about it, if you got a mortgage over the last couple of years, or you refied, and now you're sitting on a 2-3% mortgage, you're kind of stuck. So because you're stuck in that mortgage, people aren't putting that on the market. So now we have an issue of having enough supply. Also, because we have an influx of people moving from New York and Boston to Philadelphia, what's happening is our numbers are going up. And there was an article that was just written about the average working class family can't even buy a home in Philadelphia anymore. It used to be if you were this average working class, you made $50,000 or above, you can become a homeowner. Mm-hmm. There's nowhere. There's in almost every neighborhood, even the neighborhood where you go online and you see all the zombie looking people walking around.
Man, Philly is scaring me.
For $500,000.
They have started to even buy up that land. Which is why some people call conspiracy, because you let that happen like this, and people come in and buy the land for cheap. It's called Kensington. If anybody knows about Kensington in Philadelphia, that's the neighborhood when you go online and see all the zombie land. They've broken it down to now where there's West and East Kensington, and one of them they've already started putting up $700,000 homes. And a couple months ago, you see people walking around looking like zombies, but they moved them all out, put them further over there. So you see these things happen, and what you realize is that if you don't own land in this city right now, you may want to get it as soon as possible. So people talk about, well, now's not a great time to buy. In a couple of years, you won't be able to buy anyway, because there's nothing to buy. There's nothing to buy. So it's always interesting studying real estate because, and you always say this, I know that's your line. All roads lead back to real estate, but that's one of the realest lines ever because it's so true historically. Even when you look historically, remember back in the day, you couldn't even vote unless you were a landowner, right?
We going back to that. We going back. See, y'all don't understand.
Listen, all right. So now I want to get
going back to that.
But I think about how it seems as though we're regressing in a lot of ways. I was looking, so I'm speaking at a conference in a couple months in Utah, right? A real estate valuation conference. And I was looking at the airline tickets. And I'm sitting there thinking like, yo, who can get an airline ticket now? I said, this is going to go back in the day where you had to be of a certain class just to fly. Them days are just getting cheaper.
The Dallas terminal is only going to be for wealthy people.
Yeah, it's like we're going backwards.
Man, I can't lie. I can fly.
We going on. But this is the thing.
I can fly to Houston.
This is Kensington, Philadelphia. Y'all they're talking about.
That's what I was talking about.
This is straight. This is near the train station. This is actually the train station. Right there at Kensington and Allegheny.
So again, certain people, like I claim people in Philadelphia who've never been down this block before in their life, they don't even know this exists other than the internet and the way the rest of the world sees it. That's why I mean by Philadelphia is a unique in that Philadelphia is truly a city of have and have nots. We have I think last time I checked,
per capita.
It may have changed, but per capita, we had the highest number of six-figure earners, but we also had the highest poverty rate at the same time. Like that, same city, right? So it's literally a city of the have and have nots. But, it's going to be interesting these next 10, 20 years. I'm always thinking in decade frames to see what will happen because even that space, they've cut in half and you see half of it already being gentrified.
Yeah, it's bad. You can watch these videos all the time. But it's like when I saw them driving up and down streets, I was like, there's just trash everywhere, like neighborhoods. I was like, damn, what's going on in Philly?
They strung out though. So what they did is they created a literal zone for them to get high in. And then they gave them the drugs and just kept them all in. They packing them all into this one little spot. So no businesses can open around there. You can't open no business on this strip.
Right. It's crazy. Like somebody said water will be an issue. And here's the thing. People always like, oh, water. Oh my God, in Texas, how are you guys surviving? I'm like, this ain't Arizona. I live in Austin. We have the aquifers. All the water comes up from the ground here.
Galveston is 20 minutes from my house. Half an hour from my house.
Listen,
and so that's just people not knowing areas.
Yeah, it depends upon where you are, but water, they talk about the value of water. Like, it's things are going to get things.
Clean water is going to be an issue.
This is why people come to Austin. Like I keep telling people, I'm like, y'all, the water comes up from the wells here and in the town right below us. We good. Like we gonna be here. Yeah. There's a reason. Like when I see Killeen and I see Lubbock, I'd be like, if I was on a wagon, I'd be like, take me back. Take me back to where we were before.
This is how it's all connected.
Don't talk about my young boy town like that.
This is how it's all connected and why you have to get involved in a local level because these are the people that make decisions about all the things we're talking about, including water.
Yeah, we got to get them started early, and that's the reason for our camp. So thank you, Ericka, for giving us this platform.
Absolutely. We're going to email everybody all the rest of the summer, support a camp, support a kid.
And the thing is, we're going to build from this. There's other programs we're working on in the community. Like I said, we do other stuff. We're trying to put together now. And we don't have a date or anything yet. We're trying to put together like an all men's like day here in the city where we meet up and talk about issues.
So we don't have the 32-year-old dudes punching women.
Crazy.
Yeah, we about to have a conversation as men. So that's our next project.
Have that conversation, and so we're putting that together now, so that basically it's a day of men's healing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like or days, maybe a weekend of men's healing, where we can really talk about the issues that Black men face, right? Because the thing about being a Black man is that no one else in this country has our experience. And so there's nothing else anybody experientially can tell us about being a Black man that we need to come together and help solve our own problems. And so we're trying to put this together so that we can do this, for our youth and for our generation also,
for sure.
right? Because nobody knows.
There's not a lot of safe spaces. It's not a lot of safe space for men to be honest and have honest conversations, because
Lord,
when you go do work in a prison and you talk to people who are behind bars and you talk to them about like some of the things that they've experienced,
nobody to talk
some of their traumas, you realize that they've never had a place to have these conversations until now. They gotta have a conversation with the judge, so it's like we want to
first time they ever been honest in their life.
Yeah, now we want to really like put together these spaces. So creating spaces is kind of like the thing that we're going to work on, right? I mean, obviously we still do our work in real estate, in the stock market, but the community part is important.
Well, the thing I was going to say, and thank you, Brandon Johnson, for supporting the channel. The thing I was going to say is, and I'll be careful here. Michael Sneed have said on Diamond Days, he's like, we ain't doing nothing. So they can't, how can they get involved with you and follow you around? Because really mentorship is in person a lot of times. Not always, but
most of the time.
When I was out here earlier, I saw like 2 teenage Latino boys, young, 12, maybe 12, 13. And they was getting water store. They breathing hard. They like, and the dad is like, go get some more of this, go get some more water, go get some more ice, right? So they going in and getting it. But you can tell like they're learning on the job, but they're also learning how to interact with men on a daily basis. And this is something nobody really wants to address. Like the more Black men I see building homes and doing real estate, I'm like, great, pull some Black kids over there and let them see you do it.
Yeah. So one of the things I struggle with, right, because I have 4 boys, right, is that
God bless you.
A lot of the work that I do is intellectual work. Like it's kind of hard to like I can get them boots on the ground with the real estate stuff, but the stock market and the, like intangible assets, right? Because the cryptocurrencies, AI stuff. Well, I ain't gonna say AI, ML, machine learning, and the stock market are all intangible assets, right? And so these are asset classes that we need to be part of, like just like we need to be part of precious metals, in physical, in real estate, and all of the physical assets. We need to be part of these intangible assets because who said that millionaires are built in real estate and billionaires are built in the stock market?
Every time.
No, in the stock market.
Yeah.
Because all like most of your billionaires are make their money.
It's easier to scale up that heavy.
Exactly.
But I get your point, Core. But here's the thing that I recognize: sometimes these kids just need somebody to talk to. That's a huge thing. Like some of these young men,
what it is.
Some of these young men don't have another male figure they can actually even talk to.
Right.
Availability.
So sometimes it's
which is why every time a school calls me and says there's no Black teachers,
that's how they always get you back, right? But
they get me every time.
Sometimes like we look at just how many issues we have and how big the problem it is, and it gets overwhelming. So we say, man, just forget it. Let's not do anything. If you just find one person you can help, one person you can mentor, just talk to, just be a voice for them and give them your perspective. That's all it really takes, right? What's the old quote from Mother Teresa said, if everybody cleaned in front of their house, the world will be clean, right? I mean, it's just,
man, I've been in hoods and watched people just throw something out their car. Like I was somewhere and this girl threw her hair weave out the car. And I was like, baby, like, what are you, a dog? What are you, an animal? Pick that up.
Drives me insane. I've seen people throw whole pizza boxes out their window and I want to just pull over and grab them by their neck. That drives me insane.
It's because it's I don't know, there's a theory, but I can't remember. It's the grocery cart theory. It's like we don't have to put the grocery cart back. We are not punished if we don't put the grocery cart back. No one's coming to arrest you if you don't put the grocery cart back. But
Yeah.
it is a function of keeping society moving. We're gonna put the cart back.
Yeah.
Just because it's like it's a
It's the
common
thing to
sense
do.
thing. How do we make the world function? Put the grocery cart back, right? Stock market, right? So Diamond Dave does an amazing job talking about stock market. Malik came on and was like, "Yo, I lost a hundred bands in the stock market." You know, he was, it is what it is, right? Um, what did they do, or what did Malik do during the pandemic to learn from y'all on the stock market side of things, from you and Diamond Dave, or in general, however you want to
Yeah,
discuss that?
so Malik, and shout out to Malik, that's our brother. Like we talked to him during the pandemic and told him about the stock market, just basically getting an understanding because he was someone that came up in real estate. He never even looked at the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
But I was telling him, I said, if you can understand the business of real estate, it's easy to understand the business of the stock market because at the end of the day, you're buying a portion of a business. People look at the stock market as this esoteric thing where it's just numbers going up and down the
You're
board.
buying a business.
But these are pieces of a business. And real estate to me is one of the best places to learn business because you're dealing with bookkeeping, you're dealing with credit, you're dealing with debt, you're dealing with income, all the things that you
People.
need to run a business and people. And these are all these things apply to a regular business. So the thing about the stock market is we all should be involved in the stock market because we're already all involved in the stock
Yeah.
market, whether we like to or not. If you live in this country, you participate in the stock market. But the thing is, are you participating as an investor or just a consumer?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we like to tell people is just look up, and Corey says this. He says, when you get up out of your bed and by the time you get to work, school, or wherever you're going, you've done business with maybe 100 people already. Whether it's your car, the place you stop at for breakfast, the sheets that you sleep on, the water you're using in your house, the soap you use, your toothpaste, your toothbrush. So we want to get on the other side of that and not just be consumers, but to be investors and have a full understanding. So that's why the stock market is very important.
And so when he came to y'all, like, can people do um one-on-one trainings? Do you guys have group training? Do you guys teach like the stock market in general? You
Yeah.
guys saw you got the webinar.
So
Explain that.
we do have an intro course online, but what we have now is we actually have a better platform now. We have a community,
Mm-hmm.
and we've built a community. We're in the process of even doing updates with that now, where we actually teach people every day. We have not just us; we have a full team of professors that are there, teaching a little bit about real estate, teaching about the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like an online school. But if someone wants like one-on-one help, we do that as well.
Gotcha.
The idea is to make sure that we are participating in this space because we have to get involved in this space. You talked about tech earlier. That's one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find someone who can kind of like lead that. Like one of the Instagram pages I follow, Tech is the New Black. I love their content because
Cyrus, yeah.
I love their content because I feel like that's something else we got to be talking about. These STEM jobs. Because again, we talk about value. Everything to me always goes back to value. Where's the value going?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's so much value being created and the brain drain going from other different parts of our economy to tech. We have to be participating in those. We need representation in every space. So I think a lot of times we have these fights online where one person is teaching about this, one person is
This
teaching about
or
that.
that.
And I'm like, we need people everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Representation literally everywhere. I don't care if you are working in mental health, if you're
Mhm.
working in physical health. I don't care if you're a trainer in a gym. I don't care if you are teaching real estate, if you're teaching yoga. I don't care if you're teaching about how to make candles. Whatever you're doing, it's needed. We're underrepresented pretty much everywhere
Right.
except prison.
Man.
And
Safety.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. The crazy part is we have these phones that are supercomputers in our hands,
Mm-hmm.
and we out here dancing our life away. I mean,
Hey, listen,
I
we
love
need
the kids being
entertainment
active.
too.
I love them dancing, but I'm like, there's so much more to learn on here, and it's
Absolutely.
not a
But the thing
scam.
is,
Like,
they're paying them to do that though, and that's the
Not
thing.
all of them. Not all of them.
I'm just saying.
Do the
But the
research. on
reason why
TikTok.
a lot of
TikTok is
people
robbing us.
get their dance on is because they're being paid to do so.
Yeah, that also goes back historically, man. Bread and circuses have been a thing for the time.
Man.
It's, the whole
Do
idea.
a little.
The whole idea of bread and circuses, right? So in
yeah, for sure.
ancient Roman times, they would give you bread. They would make sure they feed you and give you entertainment, while the powers that be, pillaged and took everything they wanted of value. As long as they gave you bread and circuses, they were fine.
Right. Well, and I could go deep in on that, but I'm gonna hold it. What I'm gonna say is in a snippet, 60%, 20% of all white people are 65 years old or older. The medium age of Hispanic people is 32, and the medium age of Black people is 33. How dangerous are Latinos and Blacks if at this age, 32 and 33, you're married, you got a home, and you're alert enough just to like be alert? Like, when I talk about, if I could, and I know this sounds terrible, as a Native American person, I apologize, and as a Black person, I apologize. If you know how Job Corps had all these young Black men going, I really believe that's what we need for blue collar trades. We need hey, this is the welding school. Oh, you got in trouble enough? We're gonna send about 1 million y'all out of here, for out of New York, Philly, all of them. Just going to the welding school, and then y'all come back and there's jobs.
Hey, listen, there's a lot of people here in our city who believe that, right? So we changed the school that I was at, right? When I first got there, their slogan was college for all. When I left, that wasn't the slogan,
Right.
because all of these kids don't want to go to college. First of all of them don't want to go to college, and secondly, all of them shouldn't go to college.
Facts.
If you're technically proficient, or you're a computer major or something like that, your certifications mean more than your education, right? If you're doing if you're doing welding, or you're doing electrician, or you're doing plumbing, education. So the thing about it is you should be, what you should be doing is, as soon as they come into the school, you should be taking notes, right? And you should be asking these kids what what's their plan, right? Because the thing about being young is, this is the time where people will give you all the resources that you need. I tell my young people, and this is why they love me, the older you get, the less people care. And so get it all
Facts.
why people care, right? I said, once you are an adult, people start to care less, right? You're no longer a kid.
Facts.
And so get it all while you're a kid. Literally, get it all.
After 25, I don't want to hear about your parents.
Get all the stuff. Get like everything somebody will give you. Be a sponge. I said the people who get help the most are people who seek help, right? A lot of the kids get in silos and don't seek help because they scared to not look cool and all this. I said, listen, man, I was you. The thing I can speak from experience. I went to a school where SAT score, and I wasn't even in the top 300. I was in the bottom half of my class at a 1330. I was in the lower 50% in my high school. Not in in my high school, I was in the lower half, right? And so, but the thing I did take from there is I made lots of friends. Like, I met Jim in high school. You know what I mean? We went to a school where it's who you know and what you know.
Right? See, that's the thing, but that's the thing about like college too. So I'm not anti-college like some people. I think that college has a place, but we need to be strategic in how we use it. Because again, everybody is not meant for college, but the networks that you meet at certain schools.
But the college for all thing was killing the kids, though, because a lot of these kids were being sent off to end up in a debtor's colony, right? You go into college, you're not ready. They can't do math at a college level, so they go into these remedial classes that they're paying for. And you're taking remedial math in college, and then you don't pass it there. How are you moving forward in your major?
That's why I'm a fan of the community college system, right? So I have a nephew now graduated high school, and he wasn't sure about what he wanted to do. I told him, I said, dude, and he had these 4-year universities he got accepted to, he was going to go to. I said, that's the wrong move. I said, because you're going to sit there and spend money to do things that you don't know what you want to do yet. So I said, start at this community college, figure out what you want to do before you take on this huge amount of. So I think, but he has the benefit of me being a college graduate. I think a lot of times, so many people in their family to this day right now,
they're the first people
generation. So
first generation college people.
Exactly.
So I had the different pressure. Everybody in my family graduated from college, so I had to go. Like there's no one having graduated from college, and then everybody graduated from college. Like when I got out of high school, man, all I wanted to do was play ball. Like I turned down lots of scholarships of schools that didn't have sports programs that I wanted to go to. Right.
But that's the benefit of having experience, having someone go before you, right? Because you get these different viewpoints. But again, to your point though, Ericka, we do need to focus on kids that are good with their hands and putting them in different spaces. The idea is to put people in the right. What's Jim Collins is a book, from Good to Great, and he talks about to be successful, you have to put the right people on the bus, right? Put people in the right positions to win, and we need to look at our community and figure out who's good at this, who's good at that, and put them in the right position to win.
Yeah,
for sure. So that's somebody had asked a question about land patents. We're just not talking about land patents right now at this moment. I respected it. I put it kind of in the same category as trust. Like, let's all talk about trust. Like, that's not what we're talking about. Like, if you guys want to address that briefly, you can.
Nah, I've seen that. I've just been going crazy online about land.
Yeah, it's like we're not even talking about that. Right, or earlier,
they start leading down the road of
sovereign nation folks.
Yeah, I don't want no smoke.
No,
listen, we don't want. We love the FBI.
Listen, I'm not even going to talk about that. Like, there are certain things you shouldn't talk about on the internet, and that's one of them.
There you go. I find that when people do some of that stuff, I go, listen, where are you coming from? Are you trying to get us caught up? What you doing?
You like these are conversations that should be had, just not on the internet.
Thank you.
Oh, not with me in general, because I know a lot of y'all end up in prison too. Leave me alone.
Say what's real.
Soon they say, "I'm a get your sovereign." I'm
like, God, miss me with that. Because here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this, and I'll be very simple. Asking the oldest person in your family, your generation, your information can lead you many ways, right? Like, and so we've always tracked that. And so when I disclosed here on this channel, like our family had a matriarch who owned a plantation, and her name is on government documents. Indian woman, and she ended up, like, during the Civil War, one of her slaves saved her life, and that was her husband. Ended up being her husband, but that's a whole nother story. And so just simple math, central documentation. A lot of y'all can find out where y'all connected from or where your people are from. But we go on these weird tangents because nobody keeps any good records. You know what I'm saying? So that's
paperwork gangsters.
Yeah, I don't like. I go.
So this is why I was talking about those paperwork gangsters earlier, right? Because when somebody, I wasn't a student that went to class very often. I'm just gonna keep it a sidewalk. I cut just about every class that I ever had in high school. But I did go to my social studies class, and I learned something in that social studies class that turned me into a voracious reader and learner. And on day one, near the end of the class, he said, the winners of the wars get to tell the stories. Right? And so what he was talking about is that he was talking about erasure. And so I had a Black history teacher and an American history teacher. His name was Mr. Jackson. He was also the football coach. He was also the assistant football coach. And Mr. Jackson, he said that to me I was in 9th grade, second day of school. And he said that to me and opened me up to a whole different way of reading everything. Because he said the winners of the war get to tell the story any way they want.
Facts.
And so I hear all these secrets.
Yeah. And so, but what happens is what he was getting at is erasure. And a lot of the stories get erased because of the way the war was won.
Yeah.
What was the first thing they did when they brought the people from anywhere in the world here? They erased them and gave them a new name.
Right.
So they couldn't connect back to wherever they were from. Because if you're longing to go back to where you were from, you're not focused on doing what we need you to do, which is work for free. You can't be longing for home and doing 18-hour shifts. That ain't going to work. Right. And so putting it all together, right, it's all about knowing who you are and what you are, right? You might not know where you're from and who you are, but you have to know that your lineage didn't necessarily begin here. And it definitely doesn't necessarily have to be whatever you're being told, right? There's a lot of information out there. And you, like I said, information, all of the biggest companies in the world are information companies, right? All of them. All of the, that Saudi money came from, an old world order. All the biggest companies in the world right now collect information, right?
Nicole is right
data.
though. Nicole is right. These old folks with these secrets. I started looking into my family history. I
No,
started
listen.
asking my elders about this. They was
You
like,
start asking the wrong questions, you get shut down quick.
they
Whoa,
start
we don't
shutting me
talk
down.
about that. We don't talk about that.
Hey, listen, I found
Mhm.
out I have what is it, Tuscarora? Tuscarora is the Indian tribe. I got like that's part of my history,
They're
right?
down in the Carolinas
Yeah,
originally.
yeah, yeah. So that's part of
They
my
made them. They made them march north.
yeah, that's part of my history. I started
Mhm.
looking into it, but you start asking elders in the family about
Yeah,
certain
just
things like,
it's
well, hold
so
on, like
yeah.
that such and such and such and such father. They were like, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, easy.
And even if you read a lot of the slavery manifests, they didn't ship women. They usually, if they ship families, women went, right? But they usually didn't ship women that first batch of 20 years. So how are they making more slaves? A lot of the native people. And so it's one of those things that like
Mhm.
America is one of those places like it's written somewhere, right?
Yep.
But not to get off on a tangent, because we're trying to wrap the show
Yeah, yeah,
up.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But like as far as stock market, Diamond Dave and certain people like, oh, you just need
Mhm.
$500 to get started, $1,000 to get started. Is there something you would say as a quote line or tagline for stock market?
Start where you are.
Start with and don't stop. Start where you are and don't stop. Dollar cost average. If you got $1, put $1 in there. If you got $10, the thing about the stock market is that habits win.
Yeah.
Habits win. Habitual people who the reason why people are most millionaires have 401ks is because they put the money away and they weren't able to touch it.
Right.
And it was done forcibly by habit. Every 2 weeks the money went somewhere and they didn't have access to it. Right?
Right.
And so the habit of investing is just as important as the amount.
I'll leave you with this, Ericka. It's about consistency. One of the reasons that our folks tend to do well with real estate is because real estate is forced savings. So a lot of us have bad habits in terms of savings, but a lot of us also want to make sure we cover where we lay our head.
Right.
So we make money in real estate. A lot of the real estate is like the most forgiving asset
Accidental.
class because you can make
Accidental
mistakes, you
money.
could buy bad, but as long as you have time is that other variable. You put
Mhm.
time on your side over time, you'll end up generally speaking, making money, but it's the forced savings. So now apply that to the stock market. If you can, and this is why, to Corey's point, people with 401ks, 457s, 403bs, they tend to make money because it comes out of the check before they even see it. If you can get that kind of discipline to do anything, start wherever you are and then build from there. Even if you got $1, $5, you can start from there's apps now where you can start with that little, but it's about building that savings. Saving is so important. So most times people ask me about the stock market. I ask them, I said, well, do you have $1,000 saved? I won't even talk to them about the stock market until they save $1,000. The reason I say save $1,000 cash is for one, it's an emergency. You want to build from that. You don't stop at 1,000. But
and the thing is, if you can't save $1,000 when you put it in the market, even if it makes money, you're gonna end up snatching it back out. So
right.
you have to have the discipline it takes, especially for poor people, to save $1,000 is something, because we talked about this earlier. You start in a $2,000 hole every month,
Mhm.
and so the discipline it takes to pay yourself first when you're facing that down is something that is one of the reasons why the stock market hasn't been as kind to us as other people, because like I can't be putting money into something that I ain't gonna see for 25 years, but the 25 years gonna go by anyway. So you must,
Listen, 2,
it's
3,
gonna go
4,
by
5
anyway.
years.
It's gonna go by anyway, right? So like I hear people talking about, I wish I had bought Bitcoin 6 years ago, 5 years ago when I told you to. I'm like, what's stopping you from buying it right now? You know what I mean? Like, it's about
It's consistent.
it's about
To really sum it up, it's more about the consistency and discipline than anything else. Start wherever you are, but work on your consistency and discipline. It's like anything else, man. Like, I've been working on trying to eat right and lose weight. Where I struggle
I
at,
can tell you look slimmer. Don't play yourself.
I'm trying, but the thing is, though, it's about the discipline and consistency. I've always had it when it comes to money, but it's like now I got to apply it to other parts of my life, and it's not as easy. It doesn't come as easy to me as it does when it comes to money, right?
Like
But I know in my head, this is what it takes, right? So it's discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
Man, listen, y'all gave a gangbuster. It was back crazy. Y'all pow 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 shooting in the air, Philly style. No. Pow pow pow. We enjoyed it so much. Pow. I'm listen.
You can't be
my,
talking though. There's no place in the world that I've been that has more guns than Texas.
no, you got to go to North Carolina. We open carry like crazy there too. Like, what's up? Hey, how you doing? Just talking to each other with guns on their hips. Like, hey man,
they keep everybody honest. Y'all walk around with them out. No,
Yeah, less violence.
Listen, in Houston, this man came out his truck with a machete to go hit this other man. This man pulled his gun out. He said, "All right, okay, I'm gonna go."
Yeah, get your
Like,
get back in your car.
All right, I'm my bad.
Turn out badly.
It gets you some Ackright real quick. Yeah.
I'm a military person, so like I understand how guns keep people honest. Like people say there should be less guns. I think you should come out the womb and they should give you a gun at birth.
All right, you about to start a whole nother show, Corey. All right, you
I'm just saying.
Listen, Corey, listen.
Coming out the womb.
I don't think y'all understand what's happening, but and we can talk about this in another show, but I think they're setting it up so that like all these like stand your ground laws and police ain't got time. They're like, oh, you shot him? Well, we should have sat his ass down. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
police yourselves.
Police yourselves. Good luck.
That's funny.
But yeah, we could do a whole nother talk about Texas and stock market because like your girl made some money. I made like $4,000 and I was like, oh my God. But then I realized, okay, you didn't understand actually how you got there, so you need to study some more. But
it's a lot of money you made.
Yeah.
I mean, because trillions of dollars just move back and forth, so it's
all day.
Yeah, you got to get your piece.
Okay, so and I'll talk to y'all offline about some construction stocks. I was like, oh, so I'll talk to y'all offline. But somebody said I'm with you, Corey. Don't be encouraging Corey on the craziness with the guns. Don't do it.
Coming out the womb.
You got to see how many black people. Like when I'm in Texas, I be like at the gun place by myself. But then I start when Donald Trump got in there, black people was in there. We're like,
yes, they were.
We in here now.
Listen, Donald Trump, for all of the terrible stuff that he did, he made black people think about their safety
and their finances real quick.
It's like
listen, he got in there.
I don't really bang with dude because I think he's dangerous. But I can say one thing is for certain, and two things for sure. He made black people perk up and look at what's really going on out here.
Yeah. I mean, Obama. I feel like Obama made everybody go, we in there. Look at all the melanin all over the computer.
I don't even want to get too deep into politics, but without Obama doing that, we don't even get Trump. Like so.
Yeah, the pendulum.
To me, I don't get too high or too low on any of the candidates because to me it's about the system and not the person.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. The locals where it's all at. The judges and the sheriffs.
We're not talking. We talk about silos. This is not us.
No. I'm just saying in general, right? But to your point though, that's a whole conversation. We could definitely do another show on that because I think that education on firearms has to be increased because one of the things about the kids that I talk to and try to mentor, they get enamored with guns because they're not exposed to them.
Yeah, it's taboo.
It's like this magical, mythical thing. It's like almost like watching the movie Twins. When they get the gun, they turn into somebody else. But other kids that I've seen that have grown up in the country and they've been hunting and fishing, they don't even care about it. It's like it's just a part of life. It's
it's a piece of machinery.
Yeah, that's just a whole conversation. But I think the education part has to happen.
Listen, I think the best thing that can happen to the boy in Memphis, John Moran or whatever his name is they're like, oh, we're gonna put him in a bunch of hunting photos and all stuff. I'm like, no, actually make him go out with some actual hunters. Yeah. Make him actually interact with those folks.
He's a good example of what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
He up there.
My man about to blow $1 billion bag playing on IG with guns.
But like, it's the people he around too.
Yeah, it's a lot with that too. Yeah, people here around.
Okay, we about to go in another hour.
All right.
We'll talk about men, John Morant, and mentorship another time.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for sharing your platform, for always highlighting us. We definitely appreciate you.
Majorly appreciate.
Yeah, you're the best at what you do. So we want to say thank you always.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I try my best to bring great people on that have an elevated conversation. We just have so much silly back and forth, who bringing a plate conversation thing. I'll be like, can we get to the next level?
Never see me on.
Are we gonna be on 10th grade forever, black people? Can we just a little bit higher?
You gotta have a little bit of balance, right? I told you I love rap, but I love the combination. It's called, I like edutainment. You gotta have a nice little balance.
Yeah, we're gonna cut up and laugh. We're gonna talk bad about Philly, but at the end of the day, I need a little higher,
a little bit. It's all love, though. It's all love.
It's all perspective. All perspective.
For sure. All right, you guys. This is your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Please go check out By the Hood, bythehood.com and bythehoodcamp.com.
That's right.
Also check out By the Hood on Instagram. And I love seeing all the great real estate projects and things you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Corey, don't be a stranger. I know you out there, but I have a project I think I'm gonna be building
In
near
Conroe?
that area. So
If
and
you
I
coming
invested in
out
an
to
oil rig
Conroe,
out
I
there.
got you.
Yeah, man, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. I might take you to the oil rig so you can see it.
I'm not messing around there. I'm not messing around.
Oh, you can say you're safe, man. You
Yeah, I'm cool.
You're fine.
But
I'm gonna have the hat on.
Yeah. I got the I'm running a we can run a bag up. Just come on.
Yeah,
through.
we'll talk about offline for sure, for sure. Y'all got my number, so always y'all free to call and like whenever I start this apartment site thing, I'll just call y'all. Y'all can come see it.
All
So,
right. No problem.
Nice.
for sure, for sure. All right, you guys definitely check them out. By the Hood support. You can also donate to them. It goes straight to the kids.
That's
I
right.
love it, and we'll be having it out. We'll send an email to our 15,000 people on the Classy Climb email list.
Appreciate
And also, if you guys have more questions, please go over to their pages, harass them, like their posts.
it. We appreciate it. We're on YouTube as well, By the Hood. So
For sure. All right. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.